Do you really think a company would hire the child of a poor single mother like you? My goal was to work at the same bank where my father worked, but during my final interview, the notorious demon instructor said this to me. It was clear he looked down on me for coming from a single mother household and had no intention of hiring me. I struggled to keep my composure as the interview worsened. Reaching my limit, I took out my phone and called my father. You see, my father is actually the president of the bank. My name is Emma Miller. I'm a 23-year-old college senior searching for a job. My parents divorced last year, making my mom a single mother. They both wanted to live their own lives, so I naturally stayed with my mom. Despite the divorce, my future plans were heavily influenced by my father, the CEO of the largest bank in the country. I admired him and aspired to work at his bank. Tomorrow, I have my final interview. I'm not the best student, and when I shared my goal of working at the bank, my teachers and peers not only tried to dissuade me but also ridiculed me. I thought the ordeal would end after the interview, but looking back, it was truly awful. One day during my college years, a friend named Julia asked, "Hey Emma, have you decided where you're going after graduation?" For me, there's only one choice. The bank, I replied confidently. But our conversation drew murmurs from those around us. Just as I wondered if I had said something strange, Julia spoke up again. "Emma, it's hard to say, but you should know your place." To my shock, someone I considered a friend was insulting me. As I tried to argue back, another classmate chimed in. "It's impossible for you. That bank is the largest in the country and the hardest to get into from this university. Only one person from here has been hired in the past 10 years. I knew that, of course. I hadn't told anyone that my father was the bank's CEO. If I did, people would assume I got in through nepotism, which would tarnish my father's reputation and make me feel inadequate. I hated being misunderstood and judged unfairly. "Emma, I'm saying this for your own good," Julia continued, but I cut her off. "I don't need your advice." Everyone's eyes were on me, their cold stares piercing my heart. Why do I have to hear this? I thought, as our teacher, noticing the commotion, approached. "What's going on here?" she asked. "Miller says she wants to work at North Trust Bank," the boy answered. The teacher's face tensed up. "Are you taking society for granted?" Even the teacher, who was supposed to support students, denied my dream. There was no one to stand up for me. "Well, if I want to go there, what's wrong with that?" I retorted, determined to defend my ambition. I objected, but the teacher continued, piling on more criticism. "You're naive," she said. "My father is an interviewer for North Trust Bank. They call him a demon interviewer," she added with a smug look. The teacher's surname was Anderson, a 29-year-old woman. If I encountered an interviewer with the same surname at North Trust Bank, it would likely be her father, a demon interviewer indeed. "Yes, that's right," she continued. "My father doesn't like new talent. He says it's good enough if he interviews 100 people and hires 2. "Is that at the Sun Plaza branch?" I asked, curious about the connection. "Yes," she replied, "and you're from a single mother household, right?" I wondered why she would ask that, but answered honestly, "Yes." Then the teacher showed a sinister smile. At that time, I had no way of knowing the reason for her smile. The argument ended with the bell signaling the start of class. From that moment on, the way people looked at me grew colder. My friends, starting with Julia, whom I thought was a close friend, and my classmates who attended classes with me, distanced themselves. It was as if they didn't want to associate with a fool. Their reactions worsened with each exam I passed. The North Trust Bank hiring process had 4 stages. A written test in the first stage, followed by 2 interviews with people from the head office for the second and third stages. The 4th and final stage was an interview with the hiring manager for the desired work area and the head office hiring manager, in other words, the highest-ranking hiring manager. I wanted to work at the Sun Plaza branch and had managed to pass the 3rd stage. "How did you pass the 3rd stage?" they asked, now surprised and anxious about my progress. Most of them had failed their desired company's 2nd stage interviews. It had been 3 months since the job hunting season began, and in my class alone, there were no confirmed hires. The atmosphere was filled with panic, envy, and jealousy. I could be the first one to get a job offer. Those who had been so arrogant now ostracized me even more due to their pride. However, I got used to that life at university and decided to focus solely on myself. My motivation was to get an offer from North Trust Bank. My mind was set on that goal. One day, after class, Teacher Anderson started attacking me in front of everyone. "All right, everyone, listen up," she shouted to the students preparing to leave. Everyone turned around, curious about what was happening. "Emma Miller has cleared the third round of North Trust Bank's exams," she announced. The atmosphere around us suddenly became heavy, but with her next statement, everyone seemed to catch their breath. "But it seems she'll fail the fourth round." "Huh? What do you mean?" I muttered involuntarily. Seeing my reaction, the teacher twisted her face into a sneer. "The interviewer for the fourth round has been decided. It's my father, the demon instructor Anderson." The surroundings erupted in surprise and cheers. "Serves you right. Know your place. Good." The classroom filled with voices condemning me in unison. I couldn't believe it. Everyone I thought were my friends had turned their backs on me during this job hunting process, even though I had done nothing wrong. Despite that, those around me harassed me and hurled abusive language at me. At first, I thought it might be a way for them to relieve the stress of job hunting. But it was different. I realized the situation around me was rooted in jealousy. They were envious of me for challenging something they wouldn't dare to. There's no way I could lose to someone like her who isn't even good at studying. There is no way someone like her could get into North Trust Bank. If she can make it, then so can I. If Miller is going, I should have tried as well. But that place is difficult. It's the most challenging. It's impossible. So why is Miller trying without hesitation? It's wrong. She's trying for a place that even I can't get into. I can't forgive that. It's strange. The reality became apparent as job hunting progressed. Among those who passed, those who failed, and various others, no one here had much hope. I was being attacked because of jealousy. The final straw was the teacher's words and actions, especially since her father was in charge of hiring at North Trust Bank. If the teacher led the attack on me, the students overflowing with jealousy would just follow her lead. On that day, I finally couldn't take it anymore and stormed out of the room. When I returned home, my mother gently encouraged me. Wrapped in her warmth, I cried. I took a break from university for a while, and before I knew it, the day of the final interview had come. "Don't forget, just do your best," my mother said as I left the house. Upon arriving at the interview venue, I was guided to the waiting room. Initially, there had been nearly 300 applicants in the Sun Plaza area, but now only about 10 remained. Only 3 would be selected from this group. Just as I was about to close my eyes to concentrate, my name was called. "Please come in." "Hello, thank you," I greeted as my final interview began. There were 3 people in the room. Anderson, the teacher's father, just as she had said, a man who appeared to be the chief hiring officer, about 10 years younger than my father, and a man in his 30s, presumably in charge of keeping records, sitting at a slight distance with a computer. The interview began with typical questions from Anderson, starting with a self-introduction and my motivation for applying. I answered these questions without difficulty. Then, the complaints started suddenly. "I don't really like female bank employees," Anderson said. Not knowing what to say, I fell silent. "Because they have quiet voices, are physically weak, and many think they can please people just by serving tea," he continued. I realized this man must be the type to mistreat his subordinates, and this would be a stressful interview. Silence is taboo in an interview, so I racked my brain and tackled the situation. I was in a sports club, and I think I'm strong. I'll do my best with any job given to me, just like a man. I tried to appeal, responding flexibly to his complaints. However, he didn't find it amusing and clicked his tongue, directing his gaze toward the papers in his hand. I felt something was off at this point. This interview was clearly going too far, yet the chief hiring officer, who should have been higher ranking than Anderson, said nothing. Upon closer observation, the chief hiring officer looked younger than Anderson. Maybe Anderson was pressuring him too. That's what I thought, but there was nothing I could do about it. I could only sit quietly and endure the interview. After a brief silence, Anderson spoke again. It seemed he would be in charge of the entire interview. "You seem to come from a single-mother household, am I wrong?" he asked, probably looking at the documents I submitted from the university. They included my address and family composition. "Yes, my parents divorced, and now I live with my mother," I replied. As soon as he heard my words, Anderson began to laugh, his sinister smile echoing through the room. "I see you're from a single-mother household. What business does a poor person have here?" He blatantly changed his attitude. As the teacher's sinister smile crossed my mind, I began to sweat. I struggled to find the correct response and began to feel anxious, but it was Anderson who started talking first. Do you think there's a company that would hire someone from a poor single-parent family like you? He mocked. Huh? Just because I'm from a single-parent family, I won't be hired. You're going to assume I'm poor. I couldn't help but raise my tone. Of course, Anderson reacted to that. It was as if he had been waiting for me to fight back. Should I take your attitude as defiance toward me, your interviewer? I was frustrated but couldn't say anything back. This was the bank my father worked at, the one I had always admired. I didn't want to lose because of this one man, but I didn't know what to say in return. Why don't you say something? Anderson further pressured me. The moment I heard those words, something inside me snapped. My consciousness fell swiftly, and I became incredibly calm to the point where I couldn't believe it myself. Understood, I said. Anderson seemed puzzled by my response. While staring at him, I stood up from the hard metal chair. Hey, what's with you suddenly standing up? He asked. Finally, another person spoke. Have you been sitting the whole time? You've finally gone mad, huh? What do you plan to do? I know about you because I've heard from my daughter, Anderson said, revealing that the teacher had shared information about me. Is this not a leak of information? I thought, but it didn't matter now. I took my phone out of my bag and suddenly started making a call. What are you doing? Making a phone call? Are you mocking this interview? Stop it now, or I'll reject you right here. Anderson threatened me, but I wasn't fazed at all. I spoke into the phone. Hello, Dad. Your father is here. What can a person from a single-parent family do, clinging to their separated father? Was that the laugh from the hiring manager? Yes, that's right. A guy named Anderson. Hey, Dad, can you come to the interview room now? Of course, he agreed. I just finished visiting a nearby branch, so I'll be there in 10 minutes. Wait for me, okay? My father said before I hung up the phone. The person in charge of the recording stared at me with wide eyes, surprised by the unusual scene. But of course, the one who reacted the most was Anderson. Pointing at me, he said, You're finished. Making a phone call during an interview? Unprecedented. There's no way you'll pass. Go home and go to bed or something. I finally decided to argue back. I couldn't take it anymore. This isn't even an interview. It's you who's finished, Mr. Anderson. The chief hiring officer and the recorder were astonished by my sudden confrontation with the interviewer. Judging by their expressions, no one had stood up to this man's abusive behavior until now. The recorder's eyes were shining. Were they expecting Anderson to be punished? Anderson slammed his right hand on the table with all his might, a loud thud echoing throughout the room. The men were surprised, but I didn't flinch. Brian Wilson, you know him, right? I asked. For a moment, Anderson looked as if I had hit a nerve. He immediately countered, Are you mocking me? There's no way anyone wouldn't know the president of this bank. To Anderson, who was confidently showing off his composure, I added, So if my last name was Wilson until recently, would you think it's a coincidence? Time seemed to stop for the three of them. The chief hiring officer and the recorder stared at me with wide eyes. Anderson then stood up from his chair and muttered, What did you say? His face showed a somewhat uneasy expression. Emma Wilson. That was my full name until recently. My father is Brian Wilson, the president of the bank, 63-year-old Brian Wilson. You've got to be kidding. This can't be happening. Anderson let out a strange scream. This was no longer an interview. At that moment, my father entered the room. As the door opened, he said words that echoed my own feelings. This is hardly an interview at all. Mr. Wilson, thank you for your hard work, the two men said, standing up to greet my father as soon as they saw him enter. I looked at my father and felt the extraordinary presence he commanded. The president of the bank stood before us, and Anderson's face turned pale. His mouth hung open in shock. My father then spoke to him. Hey, Anderson, what were you doing to my daughter, huh? My father was a big man who had practiced judo. With his shaved head and a scar on his forehead, he looked intimidating. His deep, resonant voice was one that everyone found frightening, even the once confident Anderson. Why, yes, sir, Anderson squeaked out, unable to maintain his composure. I don't want to hear your excuses. My father cut him off. He then turned to the man who appeared to be the chief hiring officer. It was the first time I learned his name, Green, from the nameplate that had been bent and hard to read. Green, aren't you the chief hiring officer? Have you let this tyrant run wild until now? My father demanded. I'm very sorry, Green replied, bending at a 90-degree angle and bowing. The young clerk in the room looked terrified, even though he had done nothing wrong. He was drenched in sweat. Hey, clerk, what's your name? My father called out in a gentle voice, which only made it more terrifying. My name is Harris. Mr. Harris, can you send today's interview record to my PC? You're also recording the audio, right? My father asked. I later learned that this bank's interviews were not only transcribed but also recorded as a backup. Thanks to that, Anderson's misconduct was exposed, and he was punished. Anderson was trembling, like a frog stared down by a snake. Hey, Anderson. Yes, what is it? Anderson stammered, his voice barely a whisper. He was a completely different person from earlier. Apologize to my daughter. It's not because she's my daughter, okay? You've trampled on the feelings of young people who want to join this bank, my father commanded. At my father's words, Anderson bowed deeply and apologized. Sorry. But I couldn't forgive him, even after seeing that. Dad, I can't forgive him, I said firmly. When I murmured, weakly, my father nodded in understanding. Walking up to Anderson, he seemed like a lion about to hunt a small animal. Do you know what will happen to you if you do something like this, Anderson? My father's pressure made Anderson freeze. You didn't just do this to my daughter, right? We'll see later in the records. But how many victims have you had besides her? No one could intervene in this interrogation-like scene. Even I, his daughter, could barely watch in silence, feeling disgusted. Anderson began to speak to my father, sweat pouring down his face. At least over 100 people, he admitted. I was shocked to hear that he had done the same thing to more than 100 people. Furthermore, the fact that he was left unchecked made me doubt the hiring practices of this company. I felt distrustful, even though it was my father's company. Hey, Green, my father called out. Yes. I'm busy with overseas projects, so I trusted you and left the hiring to you. Well, this is my mistake in choosing people. It's my fault that it ended up like this. So I'll take responsibility and reform personnel so there won't be any more victims like this. You two should be prepared for punishment, okay? And Anderson, I'll never forgive you. Anderson gasped, frightened. My father continued, I plan to gather all the victims and create a victims group. I'll bravely make it public in the media. I'm prepared to face any consequences, so you should be prepared too, right? Hearing this, Anderson collapsed on the spot as if he had lost his sanity. My father moved away from him and opened a window. Oxygen returned to the tense room. Everyone had seemingly forgotten to breathe. And so, my job interview ended. By the way, I passed. It wasn't due to my father's favoritism. It was apparently the result of a discussion among hiring managers from all areas based on the recorded audio. As a result, the hiring decisions of those who were rejected by Anderson were also reconsidered. The news broke the next day, and my father bowed in front of the media. Many people were impressed by his attitude, and he continued as the bank president. On the other hand, Green, who had been the chief hiring officer, voluntarily resigned, and Anderson was sued by the company and the victims group. Anderson, whose past tyranny was gradually exposed, was arrested for defamation. Meanwhile, at the university, the teacher with a forced smile congratulated me in front of everyone. At that moment, my father and the principal appeared in the classroom. Miss Anderson, this is Brian Wilson, the president of North Trust Bank, the principal introduced. Oh yes, Miss Anderson replied, her expression faltering. I've seen him on TV, so I know who he is. Emma Miller's father. What? What did you say? I added to the surprise of the teacher's words. He's my mother's ex-husband and my father. My words caused a stir in the class. Humans have a tendency to flatter those with power. When they realized I was the daughter of the bank's top executive, everyone in the classroom became agitated. It was as if they had wished they'd have been friendlier to me. Miss Miller's father is the president of North Trust Bank, the teacher said upon learning the truth, becoming an empty shell. The principal then addressed the teacher. This school is able to operate thanks to the support of Mr. Wilson's bank. But it seems you've been bad-mouthing Mr. Wilson's daughter along with the rest of the class, haven't you? Well, that is never mind the excuses. Tell me only the truth. Is it a fact? Pressed by the dean, the teacher finally hung her head and admitted, yes. Mr. Wilson wants to discontinue support for this school. If those who harassed Miss Miller voluntarily leave the school, he says the support will continue. What will you do? The choice was clear to me as I listened. The teachers seemed to understand as well and ultimately resigned from the school, effective immediately. As they left, they apologized to me, but their voices were so quiet that I couldn't make it out. In the end, more than half of the classmates who had attacked me together withdrew voluntarily from the school. When my father said those who don't come forward before my daughter names the culprits will be considered for legal action, one by one they confessed. Given the power on display, it was a natural outcome. Ultimately, those people escaped legal action, but their enrollment in the university was not recognized. With my father's help, I secured a job offer, and my path after graduation was set. All that's left is to do my best for the remainder of my college life. My life is just beginning. I vowed in my heart to do my best to someday become an exemplary banker like my father.
I knew something was wrong the moment I stepped into the ballroom. The air felt too thick, like trying to breathe underwater, and the champagne flute in my hand suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds. That's when I saw her. My wedding dress. My goddamn wedding dress on another woman's body. I froze mid-step, my heel clicking against marble with a sound that seemed to echo only in my head. Around me, the engagement party continued. Laughter, clinking glasses, the soft hum of expensive people having expensive conversations. But I couldn't hear any of it clearly. Just white noise and the thundering of my pulse. "Elena, you actually came!" Adam's voice cut through my shock. My ex-husband materialized beside me, his familiar cologne hitting me a second before his words did. "Didn't think you'd have the guts." I stared at him. This man I'd spent 6 years loving, trying to reconcile the Adam I knew with this stranger, wearing a smirk that never used to be there. "Why is she wearing my dress?" The question came out steadier than I felt. He laughed, taking a sip of his whiskey. "Oh, that. Angela found it at this vintage boutique. Isn't that wild? She fell in love with it. Complete coincidence." Bullshit. Complete bullshit. That dress had been custom-made, hand-beaded, one of a kind. You know that's not possible. I kept my voice low, even as I felt heat crawling up my neck. "Maybe you're not as unique as you think, Elena." His eyes flicked over me, assessing. "Anyway, Angela wears it better. You've put on what, 15 pounds since the divorce?" The comment landed like a slap. I'd lost weight, actually. 10 pounds of stress and heartache that melted away while I cried myself to sleep for months. I watched his new fiancée, young, blonde, laughing, twirling in my dress. My dress. The one thing I'd kept from our marriage besides scars. I'd sold it to a high-end consignment shop 3 months ago in what my therapist called a powerful act of closure. Some closure. "Adam, you need to tell me the truth. Did you—" "Elena, I'm so glad you could make it." Olive, Adam's mother, appeared with her knife-edge smile. She'd never liked me. Too ambitious, too opinionated. Not the proper corporate wife her precious son deserved. "Olive," I managed a tight smile. "Congratulations on your future daughter-in-law. She looks familiar." Something flickered in her eyes. Satisfaction, maybe. "Angela is exactly what Adam needs. You two were never quite right together, were you?" Before I could respond, Adam's arm snaked around my waist, steering me away. His fingers dug into my hip, a warning. "Let's get you a fresh drink," he muttered. "You're making a scene." I wasn't, but I wanted to. At the bar, away from his mother, I turned to face him. "Did you buy my dress from Eloise's Vintage? Did you specifically seek out my wedding dress for your child bride to wear to your engagement party that you invited me to?" His smile never reached his eyes. "You're being paranoid. It's just a dress." "It's my dress." "Was your dress. Past tense. Like our marriage." He signaled the bartender. "Another whiskey, and whatever will calm her down." He nodded toward me. "I don't need anything," I told the bartender. Then to Adam, "Why invite me at all? To torture me?" "Closure, Elena. I thought you'd appreciate the gesture. Aren't you the one who's always talking about healthy boundaries and moving on?" He mimicked my voice on the last words. "Besides, everyone's here. Wouldn't look right if my ex-wife was the only person missing. Everyone." I glanced around and spotted familiar faces from our shared life. Colleagues from his investment firm, country club friends, Even my former sister-in-law, who'd sworn she'd always be my friend. All of them watching Angela float around in my dress, probably whispering about poor, discarded Elena. "You're enjoying this," I realized aloud. Adam's smile widened. "Don't be dramatic. I'm just celebrating my engagement." A burst of applause drew our attention. Angela stood in the center of the room, radiant in my dress, raising her glass. "I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight," she gushed, "and especially Elena for being so supportive. Not every ex-wife would be this gracious." All eyes turned to me, expectant, judging. I raised my glass mechanically, feeling like I was outside my body, watching this humiliation unfold. "To new beginnings," I said, the words ash in my mouth. The crowd echoed the toast. Adam squeezed my shoulder, a gesture that might look friendly to others, but felt like a victory lap. "See? Painless," he whispered. As people returned to their conversations, I caught Angela watching me. For just a second, her perfect smile slipped, revealing something calculating beneath. Then she winked at me before turning back to her admirers. That wink changed everything. This wasn't a coincidence. This was orchestrated. Every detail, the dress, the invite, the public humiliation, designed to break me. I set down my untouched drink. "I need to use the restroom." Adam wasn't listening anymore, already drifting back toward his bride-to-be. I didn't head for the bathroom. Instead, I walked straight to the coat check, collected my things, and stepped into the cool night air. They thought they knew me, fragile, predictable Elena, who'd crumble under pressure. They were wrong. I pulled out my phone and made a call. "Celeste, it's me. I need your help with something." "He did what?" Celeste's voice crackled through my phone as I paced the sidewalk outside the hotel. 3 a.m. And sleep wasn't even a distant possibility. Had his new fiancée wear my wedding dress to their engagement party, my actual wedding dress. That's not just petty, that's pathological. Celeste had been my friend since college, before Adam, before everything. She'd never liked him. "And you're absolutely sure it was yours?" The left shoulder strap had that tiny repair where it tore during our first dance. I'd know that dress anywhere. My breath clouded in the night air. And then Angela winked at me, like we were sharing a joke. "What are you going to do?" I stopped under a streetlight, watching moths batter themselves against the glass. "I don't know yet, but I'm done being the sad ex-wife they can parade around for entertainment." "Elena," Celeste's tone shifted. "I get that you're hurt, but it's not about being hurt. It's about being played." I resumed pacing. He's trying to erase me, replace me with a younger model, and make me watch. And everyone's letting him. So don't let him. Walk away. Live your best life. That's the real revenge. I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "That's what my therapist says, but you didn't see his face, Celeste. He's winning, and he knows it." A car drove past, its headlights briefly illuminating the empty street. For a moment, I saw my shadow stretched long against the pavement, thin and distorted, barely there. "Come over," Celeste said finally. "You shouldn't be alone right now." Celeste's apartment was exactly what I needed. Warm, cluttered, safe. She handed me a mug of tea spiked with something stronger and settled beside me on her worn couch. "Start from the beginning," she said. "Not just tonight. When did things with Adam start feeling off?" I wrapped my hands around the mug. "Remember that business trip to Vancouver last year? He came back different, distant, started working late, guarding his phone." I took a sip, welcoming the burn. "I thought he was having an affair, but he swore he wasn't. Made me feel crazy for asking. Then, 3 months later, he tells me he needs space and moves out. And 2 months after that, he files for divorce," Celeste finished. "Fast-tracked it, too. His lawyer was brutal." I stared into my tea. "Then suddenly he's engaged to Angela, who's 10 years younger and works at his firm. The ink on our divorce papers was barely dry." Celeste tucked her legs under her. "So you think they were together before?" "I know they were, but that's not even what bothers me most." I set down my mug. It's how he's rewriting our history, telling everyone I was cold, career-obsessed, didn't want children. But you put your promotion on hold when you were trying for a baby. 3 rounds of IVF, all while managing his mother's constant disappointment. My voice cracked. And now he has the nerve to parade around this girl wearing my wedding dress like some sick trophy. Celeste was quiet for a moment. What did you mean when you said you needed my help? I hesitated. I want the truth. About when their affair started. About what he's been telling people. I need to know if I've been the villain in his story all along. And then what? Then I decide if he deserves to keep his perfect new life intact. Celeste studied me. That doesn't sound like you, Elena. Maybe I'm tired of being me. I met her gaze. The me that everyone walks over. She reached for her laptop. I'm not helping you do anything crazy, but information, that I can do. She typed for a moment. Angela Kent, right? Let's see what social media tells us. We spent the next hour scrolling through Angela's Instagram, carefully curated photos of brunches, yoga poses, and, starting 8 months ago, subtle hints of a new relationship. No faces, just masculine hands holding coffee cups, the edge of a familiar watch. 8 months, I whispered. We were still together. Wait, look at this! Celeste pointed to a photo from last summer. Angela on a boat, Vancouver's skyline behind her. The caption, business trips don't have to be all business, with a winking emoji. Vancouver! My stomach clenched. That's when it started. Celeste clicked through to the comments. One caught my eye. Our secret's getting harder to keep. Worth it, though. From a private account with only Adam's initials. I need to sit down. You are sitting down. Then I need to stand up. I paced Celeste's living room. He was with her in Vancouver, while I was injecting myself with hormones and planning our future. Elena! My phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. I saw you leave early. We should talk. There's more you don't know. Meet tomorrow? Wayne. Who's Wayne? Celeste asked, reading over my shoulder. Adam's colleague. Quiet guy, always seemed uncomfortable around me. I frowned at the message. Why would he want to talk to me? Could be a trap. Adam sending someone to see how you're handling things. I considered this. Or he could have information. Be careful. Celeste took my phone and typed a response. What kind of information? The reply came quickly. The kind that explains why she was wearing your dress and why Adam's mother hates you so much, not over text. I looked at Celeste, something new unfurling in my chest. Not hope exactly, something sharper. I'm meeting him, I decided. Not alone, you're not. I need to do this myself. I took my phone back. But I'll meet him somewhere public, I typed. Tomorrow, noon, the coffee shop on 9th. His response was immediate. I'll be there. And Elena, bring the flash drive from your desk drawer. The one Adam doesn't know about. My blood went cold. I hadn't thought about that flash drive in months. It contained backup files from when I'd helped Adam organize his home office last year, including financial records I'd never opened. How does he know about that? Celeste whispered. I stared at my phone, mind racing. I don't know, but I'm going to find out. I arrived at the coffee shop 20 minutes early, flash drive heavy in my coat pocket. Sleep had been impossible after leaving Celeste's apartment. Instead, I'd gone home and dug through old boxes until I found it, a small black rectangle containing pieces of Adam's life I'd never examined. The barista had just set down my Americano when I spotted Wayne entering, scanning the room with nervous energy. He looked different outside the office context, more human in jeans and a worn leather jacket than the crisp suits Adam insisted his team wear. He noticed me and approached, hands shoved deep in his pockets. You came, he said, sliding into the seat across from me. You made it sound important. Wayne ordered coffee, then leaned forward. I wasn't sure you'd bring it. He nodded toward my pocket, where I'd been unconsciously fingering the flash drive. I haven't decided if I'm giving it to you. I studied his face for signs of deception. How do you even know about it? Adam's been looking for it. Tore apart his office last week, then called Angela in a panic. Wayne's coffee arrived, but he ignored it. He thinks you might have taken it deliberately. Yeah, I didn't. I trailed off, remembering. We were organizing his home office before a tax audit. I backed up his financial documents as a precaution. Did you ever look at those files? I shook my head. It was just routine. Why would I? Wayne took a sip of his coffee, grimacing at the heat. Because Adam's been running 2 sets of books for years, one for the IRS, one for his clients. The words didn't make sense at first. Adam was arrogant, controlling, unfaithful. But a criminal? That's a serious accusation, I said carefully. It's why I left the firm 3 months ago. I found discrepancies, confronted him, and he offered me money to stay quiet. Wayne's voice was low, steady. I refused. He threatened to ruin my reputation if I went to the authorities. Why are you telling me this? Because that flash drive might contain proof. And because you deserve to know what kind of man you were married to. I pulled out the drive, turning it over in my hands. This doesn't explain the wedding dress. Wayne's expression darkened. That was Angela's idea. She found out you'd sold it and specifically tracked it down. She's not just Adam's girlfriend. She's his partner in everything. Including fraud? Especially that. She's the one who handles most of the offshore accounts. My head was spinning. Wait, back up. Adam's mother was at that party, watching Angela wear my dress. She had to know what they were doing. Olive doesn't just know, she introduced them. Wayne leaned closer. Vancouver last year? That was a setup. Olive had been pushing Angela at Adam for months. She never thought you were good enough for her son. The revelation hit like a physical blow. All those dinners with Olive, trying desperately to win her approval while she was actively working to replace me. How do you know all this? I asked, voice barely steady. Adam drinks, talks too much when he does. Wayne hesitated, and Angela and I dated briefly before she set her sights on Adam. I stared at him. So this is about revenge for you? Initially, maybe. He didn't flinch from my gaze. Now it's about doing what's right. Adam's stealing from people who trust him. Elderly clients, family friends. I closed my fingers around the flash drive. If what you're saying is true, why not take this to the SEC yourself? Because they'll need more than just those files. They'll need testimony from someone on the inside. Wayne's eyes met mine. Someone like his ex-wife who had access to his home office, who might have noticed things. I didn't notice anything. Are you sure? Think back, Elena. The late-night calls he'd take in another room, the trips that never quite made sense. Memories surfaced. Adam insisting I never touch his work papers, the locked drawer in his desk, the unexplained cash deposits I'd glimpsed in our joint account before he moved all our finances to separate banks. I struggled for words. This is a lot. I know, and I'm sorry to dump it on you. Wayne looked genuinely apologetic. But when I saw you at that party, saw what they were doing to you. You were there? I interrupted. I didn't see you. I wasn't invited. I was meeting a friend at the hotel bar and saw you leave. Recognized that look on your face. His smile was grim. It's the same one I had when I realized who Adam really was. I took a long sip of my coffee, trying to process everything. What exactly are you suggesting I do? Help me build a case. Check what's on that drive. If there's evidence, we take it to the authorities together. And if I don't want to get involved? Wayne shrugged. That's your choice. But ask yourself, do you really want to let them win? Let them humiliate you and walk away clean? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text. I glanced down and felt my stomach drop. Where are you? We need to talk. I'm outside your apartment. Adam. I showed Wayne the message. He knows, Wayne said quietly. Someone must have seen us. Or he's tracking my phone. A chill ran through me. He always knew my passwords. You need to be careful. Adam won't hesitate to destroy anyone who threatens him. Wayne stood. Don't go home, not yet. I can't just disappear. No, but you can buy time. He pulled out his phone. Text him back. Tell him you're shopping or at the gym, somewhere he can't easily check. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. This was the moment. Step into this conspiracy or walk away. I typed, "At yoga. Need space after last night. Talk tomorrow?" Adam's response was immediate. "Fine. Dinner tomorrow, 7 p.m. We need to discuss some items of yours I found." I looked up at Wayne. He's bluffing, trying to see if I have the drive. Probably. Wayne held out his hand. "So what's it going to be, Elena? Are you in?" I pocketed the flash drive and stood up. "I'm not giving you this, not yet, but I'll look at it myself." "Fair enough." He nodded. "But don't do it at home or on any device Adam might have access to." "I'm not stupid." "No," Wayne said, something like admiration in his eyes. "I don't think you are. That's why they're scared of you." As I walked out, that thought settled into my bones. They were scared of me, not the other way around. And for the first time since seeing Angela in my wedding dress, I felt something close to power. I sat in Celeste's spare bedroom, staring at her laptop screen as files populated the window. My hands trembled slightly as I clicked through Adam's financial records, the reality of what I was seeing slowly sinking in. "This can't be right," I muttered. Celeste leaned over my shoulder. "What am I looking at?" "Two different account statements for the same time period." I pointed to the screen. "This one shows a $50,000 loss for the Gardner Retirement Fund. This one shows a $120,000 gain." "Maybe it's for different clients?" I shook my head. "Same account number. He's showing losses to some people and gains to others." I clicked through more files. "There are dozens like this. And look, offshore transfers to accounts in the Caymans." "Huh, holy shit!" Celeste straightened. "Your ex-husband is running a Ponzi scheme." The words hung in the air, making it all real. Adam wasn't just a cheater. He was a criminal. "I lived with him for 6 years, I said quietly. "How did I not see this?" "Because he didn't want you to." Celeste squeezed my shoulder. "What are you going to do?" Before I could answer, my phone rang. Phoebe, my younger sister. "Hey, I need to take this." I stepped into the hallway. "Phoebe, what's up? Where are you?" Her voice was tight with tension. "Adam's looking for you. He came by my place." My stomach dropped. "What? Why?" "Said he needed to talk to you about some financial documents that went missing during your divorce. Said it was urgent." She paused. "Elena, he seemed really on edge. What's going on?" I closed my eyes, leaning against the wall. "It's complicated." "Did you tell him where I was?" "Of course not. I said we hadn't talked in days." Another pause. "Which is true, by the way. You've been MIA since the divorce." The guilt hit hard. I had withdrawn from everyone, including my sister. "I'm sorry, Phoebe. Things have been difficult." "Yeah, well, difficulty seems to be following you." Adam brought his mother with him. "Olive was there?" Alarm shot through me. "She spent the whole time making these little comments about how worried they are about your mental state since the divorce. How you've been acting erratically." Phoebe's voice hardened. "They're setting something up, Elena. Creating a narrative." My mind raced. If Adam suspected I had evidence of his fraud, he'd do anything to discredit me. "Phoebe, listen to me. Don't tell anyone you've spoken to me, okay? Not even Mom." "You're scaring me." "I'm fine. I just need some time to handle something." I took a deep breath. "Do you trust me?" "You know I do." "Then trust that I'm okay, and I'll explain everything soon." After hanging up, I returned to find Celeste staring at the laptop with a troubled expression. "There's something else," she said, turning the screen toward me. "Look at these emails." I scanned the correspondence between Adam and his mother. Plans for the Vancouver trip. Discussions about Angela. And then I saw my name. "Elena's getting suspicious. We need to accelerate the timeline." "Are the papers ready? Remember, we need to protect the assets before she finds anything." "Don't worry about Elena. She trusts you completely. She'll sign whatever you put in front of her." The emails were dated 3 weeks before Adam asked for a divorce. "They planned everything," I whispered. The separation, the divorce, all of it. Elena, Celeste hesitated. These divorce papers. Did you read them carefully before signing? I thought back to those awful days, signing whatever my lawyer put in front of me, just wanting it to be over. I trusted my attorney. Who recommended your attorney? The realization hit like ice water. Adam did. He said since he was the one leaving, he'd cover the legal fees. Celeste's expression confirmed my fear. You need to get copies of what you signed. My phone buzzed with a text from Adam. We need to talk tonight, not tomorrow. This is serious, Elena. Another text followed immediately. If you're worried about the IRS questions, I can help. Just need those backup files you might have. He's getting desperate, I said, showing Celeste, which makes him dangerous. She closed the laptop. You can't meet him. If I don't, he'll know something's wrong. I paced the small room. I need to buy time. For what? To figure out what to do with this information. I gestured to the laptop. Wayne wants to go to the SEC, but what if Adam has connections there too? What if no one believes me? Celeste considered this. What about Angela? Could she be turned against him? I remembered Angela's wink at the party. No, Wayne says she's in on everything. Then we need leverage, something that would make Adam back off. An idea formed. Risky, possibly reckless, but it might work. I need to go to my apartment, I said suddenly. What? No, Adam might be waiting there. Not for what you're thinking. I grabbed my coat. There's a hidden safe in my closet. Adam doesn't know about it. I kept insurance there. Insurance? After I found lipstick on his collar 2 years ago, I started keeping records. Screenshots of suspicious texts I saw on his phone. Recordings of conversations where he discussed clients. I met Celeste's concerned gaze. I never used them because I wanted to believe him when he said nothing was happening. But they're there. That's still too dangerous. I'll be careful. Text Adam and tell him I'm meeting him at that Italian place he likes at ADL's. That gives me time to get in and out of my apartment. And if he's already there? Then I'll deal with it. I felt a strange calm settling over me. I'm done running from him, Celeste. As I headed for the door, my phone buzzed with another message. Not from Adam this time, but Wayne. Angela just called me. They know we met. Be careful. They're pulling bank records to see if you've accessed any accounts. Don't go home. Too late. I was already halfway to my car, determination hardening into something stronger. For 6 years, Adam had written our story. Now I was taking back the pen. Rain pounded the windshield as I parked a block from my apartment building. Perfect weather for what I was about to do. Dark enough to provide cover, miserable enough to keep people indoors. I pulled my hood up and checked my phone one last time. 8:15 p.m. Adam would be at the restaurant by now, checking his watch, growing increasingly irritated as I failed to show. Good. I moved quickly through the rain, scanning for his car or any sign of Olive. The street was clear, but anxiety still crawled up my spine as I approached my building. This was either very smart or incredibly stupid. The lobby was empty. I took the stairs instead of the elevator, not wanting to announce my arrival with a ding. At my door, I paused, listening. Silence. I unlocked it as quietly as possible and slipped inside. My apartment felt different, like someone else's space. Had Adam been here? I moved through the darkened rooms, not daring to turn on lights, using my phone's flashlight to navigate to my bedroom closet. The safe was hidden behind a false panel at the back, installed years ago when I'd briefly dated a security consultant. I'd never told Adam about it, my one secret in a relationship where he demanded total transparency. I slid the panel aside and entered the combination. Inside lay a small fireproof box containing exactly what I'd come for: a USB drive, a small recording device, and a folder of printed documents. As I reached for them, a floorboard creaked behind me. I whirled around, heart hammering. Looking for something? Angela stood in my bedroom doorway, silhouetted against the hall light she'd switched on. I clutched the box to my chest. What are you doing in my apartment? Waiting for you. She stepped forward, surprisingly calm. Adam thought you might come here. So he sent his attack dog while he hides at the restaurant? I backed up against the closet. Classy. Adam doesn't know I'm here. She perched on the edge of my bed, looking oddly at home. I came on my own. That caught me off guard. Why? Because we need to talk, woman to woman. She gestured to the box in my arms. About whatever you think you have there, and about what I'm wearing. You mean my wedding dress? The anger I'd been suppressing flared. Was that your idea or his? Mine. She didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. I wanted to see you up close. The woman Adam couldn't stop talking about even after you were gone. If you came to gloat, I came to warn you. Her voice sharpened. You have no idea what you're getting into, Elena. Adam isn't just angry, he's scared. And that makes him dangerous. I studied her face, trying to read her angle. Why would you care? Because I've seen what happens to people who threaten him. She twisted the engagement ring on her finger. His last assistant found some discrepancies in the books. Asked too many questions. Now she can't get hired anywhere in finance. Is that supposed to scare me? It should. Adam has powerful friends. He's already talking to people about your fragile mental state since the divorce. The same narrative Olive had been feeding Phoebe. I felt cold despite the stuffiness of the room. Wayne told you about the fraud, didn't he? Angela continued. About the 2 sets of books? I kept my expression neutral. Why would Wayne tell me anything? Don't play dumb. We know you met with him. She leaned forward. What you don't know is that Wayne isn't the white knight he pretends to be. He was happy to look the other way until Adam passed him over for promotion. You're lying. Am I? Ask him about the Dennison account. Ask him where that money really went. My grip tightened on the box. If you're trying to confuse me, I'm trying to give you an out. Angela stood up. Walk away, Elena. Give Adam whatever files you have, sign a non-disclosure agreement, and he'll make it worth your while. You think I can be bought? Everyone has a price. She shrugged. Yours is $500,000. Enough to start over somewhere new. The offer hung in the air between us. $500,000 to forget what I'd seen. To let them continue stealing from people who trusted them. Why the wedding dress? I asked suddenly. If this is about buying me off, why humiliate me first? Something flickered across her face. Discomfort, maybe even guilt. That was a miscalculation. Adam said it would help break your confidence. She looked away. I didn't realize how it would feel, wearing another woman's memories. But you did it anyway. Yes. Her eyes met mine again, harder now. Because that's what it takes to survive in Adam's world. Compromise, sacrifice, doing things that make you hate yourself a little. The rain drummed against the windows, filling the silence between us. Is that what you want? I asked quietly. To survive in Adam's world? For a moment, her mask slipped. I saw uncertainty, maybe even fear. Then it was gone. What I want doesn't matter anymore. She moved toward the door. You have 24 hours to decide. After that, Adam will do whatever it takes to protect himself. And what about you? Will you do whatever it takes to protect him? She paused in the doorway. I'll do whatever it takes to protect myself. Her eyes flicked to the box in my hands. Just like you're doing. After she left, I stood frozen, listening to her footsteps fade down the hallway. The apartment door opened and closed. I sank onto my bed, mind racing. Angela's warning seemed genuine, but so did her threat. And her comment about Wayne troubled me. What if he wasn't the ally I thought? My phone buzzed with a text from Adam. Where are you? We had a deal. Then another. Just talked to Angela. Smart move coming home. Let's meet tomorrow. My office, 10 a.m. So Angela had already reported back to him. Whatever moment of honesty we'd shared was over. I opened the box and examined its contents. The recordings, the documents, evidence of Adam's indiscretions, but nothing concrete about the fraud. Not enough to protect me if he came after me with everything he had. I needed more. and I knew exactly where to get it. I texted Wayne. "We need to talk about the Dennison account." His response was immediate. "Who told you about that?" "Your move, Wayne," I wrote back. "Either you're with me or you're with them." Wayne chose a diner on the outskirts of town for our meeting, the kind of place with sticky laminate menus and waitresses who called everyone Hun. I arrived first, sliding into a back booth with a clear view of both entrances. My evidence box sat beside me, a physical reminder of what was at stake. I'd barely slept after my encounter with Angela, her warnings mixing with memories of Adam until I couldn't separate truth from manipulation. Wayne arrived looking worse than I felt, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, constantly glancing over his shoulder. "You're being followed," he said without preamble, sliding into the booth. "What? How do you know?" "Because I've been followed for 3 days." He ordered coffee when the waitress approached, then leaned forward. "Black sedan, 2 men. They're parked across the street." I resisted the urge to look. "Adam's doing?" "Probably. After you texted about Dennison, I knew they'd made contact." His eyes dropped to the box. "Is that what I think it is?" "Depends what you think it is." I kept my hand firmly on the lid. "Before we go any further, I need the truth about Dennison." Wayne's jaw tightened. "Who told you about that account?" "Angela paid me a visit last night, said you weren't as innocent as you pretend to be." He laughed without humor. "Of course she did. They're trying to turn us against each other." "So there's nothing to tell?" The waitress delivered his coffee. Wayne waited until she was out of earshot. Dennison was one of Adam's first fraudulent accounts, 5 years ago. He stirred his coffee without drinking it. "I helped set it up. That's what Angela wanted you to know." The admission hung between us. I'd expected denials, not confession. "So you were part of this?" "Yes. Before I understood what Adam was really doing." Wayne's knuckles whitened around his mug. "He said it was a tax strategy for a difficult client. By the time I realized we were stealing from people's retirement funds, I was already implicated." "Why should I trust you now?" "Because I'm the only one with nothing left to lose." He finally met my eyes. "Adam took everything, my career, my reputation. All I have left is the chance to make this right." I studied him, searching for deception. Found only exhaustion and something that looked like regret. "What's in the box, Elena?" I hesitated, then opened it. Evidence of Adam's affairs. Recordings of him discussing clients inappropriately. Nothing concrete about the fraud. "It's not enough." Wayne shook his head. "Adam will claim you doctored the recordings out of spite. So what do? We need to get into his office computer. The real records are there, password protected." Wayne lowered his voice. "And we need to move fast. Word is the SEC might already be looking into the firm." "Isn't that what we want?" "Not if Adam destroys evidence first. Or worse, frames someone else." His eyes met mine. Like his unstable ex-wife who's been acting erratically since their divorce. The same narrative Olive had been spreading. I felt sick. "I'm meeting Adam at his office today at 10, I said. "He thinks I'm returning the flash drive." "That's too dangerous." "It's also our only chance to access his computer." I leaned forward. "I'll distract him. You tell me exactly what to look for and where." Wayne started to protest, then stopped, considering. "It could work, but you'll need this." He slid a small device across the table. "It's a keystroke logger. If you can get it plugged into his computer, it will capture his passwords." I pocketed it, heart racing. "What about the men following you?" "I'll lose them. I've done it before." He glanced at his watch. "You should go. Take a different route back, just in case." As I gathered my things, Wayne caught my wrist. "Elena, there's something else you should know. About Angela." "What about her?" "She wasn't just Adam's mistress. She was Olive's goddaughter." His expression was grim. "This whole thing, your marriage, the divorce, it might have been planned from the beginning." The diner seemed to tilt around me. "That's not possible. We were married for 6 years." "Long cons take time, especially when there's serious money involved." Wayne released my wrist. Be careful. Trust no one. I left the diner in a daze, Wayne's words echoing. Could my entire marriage have been a setup? It seemed too elaborate, too cruel even for Adam. Yet as I drove toward the office building that had once been like a second home, memories resurfaced with new context. How Adam had pursued me relentlessly after we met at a charity event, Olive's charity event. How he'd insisted I quit my job at a competing firm to avoid conflicts of interest. How he'd managed our finances from day one. By the time I pulled into the parking garage, a cold clarity had settled over me. Whether Wayne was right about everything or not, one thing was certain. I'd been played. My phone buzzed with a text from Celeste. "Are you sure about this? We could still go to the police." I typed back, "With what? They'll believe Adam over me. I need proof." "Be careful. Call me the second you're out." I tucked my phone away and checked my reflection in the rearview mirror. I looked calm, collected. Nothing like the turmoil inside me. The security guard nodded as I entered the building, recognizing me from my years as Adam's wife. "Mrs. Warren, haven't seen you in ages." "It's Ms. Warren now, Rick." I forced a smile. "Just stopping by to drop something off." "Mr. Warren's expecting you. Go right up." The elevator ride to the 12th floor gave me time to steady my breathing, to rehearse my approach. I needed to appear conciliatory, maybe even a little afraid. When the doors opened, Angela was waiting. "Elena." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Adam's on a call. He asked me to get you settled in his office." "How convenient." She led me down the hallway, heels clicking on marble. "Did you consider our offer?" "I'm here, aren't I?" At Adam's office door, she paused. "For what it's worth, I meant what I said last night. About being careful." Before I could respond, the door opened and Adam appeared, phone still pressed to his ear. "I'll call you back," he said to whoever was on the line. His eyes locked on mine, cold and calculating. "Elena, right on time." As I stepped into his office, I felt the weight of every decision that had led to this moment. There would be no going back after today. "Let's talk," I said, closing the door behind me. Adam's office hadn't changed. The same mahogany desk, the same view of the city skyline, the same photo of us on our honeymoon that he'd never bothered to remove. I wondered if clients found it reassuring, this fiction of a happy marriage preserved in a silver frame. "You look tired," he said, gesturing for me to sit. I remained standing. "Funny how fraud investigations will do that to a person." His smile faltered for just a moment, before returning, tighter than before. "Always so dramatic, Elena. There's no investigation." "Not yet." We studied each other across the expanse of his desk. I'd once found his confidence attractive. Now I saw it for what it was, the practiced ease of a man accustomed to getting away with everything. "Do you have what I asked for?" He held out his hand. I reached into my bag and produced the flash drive. Not the one with the evidence, but an identical decoy Wayne had provided. "Before I give you this, I want answers." I kept my voice steady. "About Angela, about the wedding dress, about all of it." Adam sighed, lowering his hand. "What do you want to know?" "How long were you planning to replace me?" "It wasn't like that." "Wasn't it? Angela is Olive's goddaughter. That's quite a coincidence." Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise that I knew, quickly masked. "Who told you that?" "Does it matter?" "It's true, isn't it?" He leaned back in his chair. "Yes, Angela is Olive's goddaughter, but that has nothing to do with us." "So you didn't meet her through your mother? Weren't pushed together at every opportunity?" I stepped closer to his desk. "Wasn't groomed to take my place? You're creating conspiracies where there are none." Adam stood, moving to the window. "Our marriage ended because we wanted different things. You were obsessed with having a baby, with fitting some perfect family mold. I went through IVF because you wanted children." The words burst out before I could stop them. "You were the one who talked about legacy, about carrying on the Warren name. And you were the one who failed to deliver." The cruelty in his voice was casual, practiced. 3 rounds of IVF, Elena. All that money spent, and nothing to show for it. The room seemed to tilt. We'd never spoken so bluntly about our fertility struggles. In all our fights, he'd never directly blamed me. So that's why you cheated? Because I couldn't get pregnant? I cheated because you were no longer the woman I married. He turned back to face me. You became obsessed, desperate. It wasn't attractive. Each word was a precision strike, targeting old insecurities. I recognized the technique now, the way he'd always twisted arguments to make me doubt myself. Not this time. I placed the flash drive on his desk. You know what I think? I think you never wanted children with me. I think it was a convenient excuse to make me feel inadequate while you set up your exit strategy. That's absurd. Is it? Because the timeline works perfectly. You push for IVF, knowing the hormones will make me emotional. You use that to paint me as unstable. Meanwhile, you're embezzling from clients and setting up Angela as my replacement. Adam's expression hardened. You need to be very careful about what you're implying, Elena. Or what? You'll ruin me? Spread rumors about my mental health? I laughed, the sound sharp in the quiet office. You're already doing that. He moved toward me, stopping just inches away. Give me the real flash drive, not this decoy. My heart stuttered. He knew. I don't know what you're talking about. Wayne isn't as loyal as you think. Adam smiled coldly. He called me this morning, told me everything. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. Wayne had set me up. All those warnings about being careful, about trust, while he was playing both sides. I needed to get out of there. We're done here. I turned toward the door. Adam caught my arm, fingers digging in. We're done when I say we're done. The old Elena would have flinched, would have tried to placate him. The new Elena twisted out of his grip and stepped back. Don't touch me. Or what? He advanced again. What exactly do you think you can do to me, Elena? I have everything. The money, the connections, the credibility. You have nothing. I have the truth. The truth? He laughed. No one cares about the truth. They care about perception. And the perception is that you're a bitter ex-wife trying to destroy me because I moved on. As he spoke, I noticed his computer on the desk behind him. The keystroke logger felt heavy in my pocket. I needed to distract him. The wedding dress, I said suddenly. Why did you do that? The question caught him off guard. What? Why have Angela wear my wedding dress? What was the point of that cruelty? Something like satisfaction crossed his face. Because I wanted to see if you still cared, if you still had feelings for me. That's pathetic. Is it? You showed up. You let it hurt you. He stepped closer again. You still love me, Elena. That's your problem. You always will. The arrogance, the absolute certainty in his voice ignited something in me. Not anger, but clarity. In that moment, I saw him completely. Not the man I'd loved, but the hollow shell I'd projected my hopes onto. No, Adam, I don't love you. I met his gaze steadily. I don't even know you, and I'm not sure I ever did. Confusion flickered across his face, quickly replaced by anger. Enough games. Where's the real flash drive? With people you can't reach. I took a deliberate step toward his desk, toward his computer. People who already have copies of everything. You're bluffing. Am I? I picked up the photo of us from his desk. You know what's interesting about this frame? It's the one I gave you for our first anniversary, the one with the hidden compartment. His eyes widened slightly. I'd struck a nerve. What hidden compartment? I turned the frame over, pressing the secret latch I'd shown him years ago. A latch he'd apparently forgotten. The back panel slid open, revealing a small recording device, the one that's been recording this entire conversation. I smiled as his face drained of color. Including your admission about Angela and your mother. Give me that. He lunged for the frame. I sidestepped him, using his momentum to slip behind his desk. In one fluid motion, I plugged the keystroke logger into his computer. It's over, Adam. I backed toward the door, frame in hand. You, Angela, your mother. You all underestimated me. That was your mistake. His face contorted with rage. Security! He shouted toward the door. Security! I yanked open the door to find Angela standing there, face pale. Move, I told her. To my surprise, she stepped aside. As I walked past her, she whispered, The Cayman accounts. Password is Olive Garden 1956. I froze for a split second, processing her betrayal. Of Adam, not me. Behind us, Adam was still shouting. Security would arrive any moment. Why? I asked her. Her eyes met mine, resolute. Because you're right. It is over. I ran. The conference room at the SEC offices felt sterile and impersonal, all glass and chrome, designed to intimidate. I sat straight-backed in an uncomfortable chair, surrounded by serious-faced agents reviewing the evidence I'd provided. And you obtained this password how, exactly? Agent Reeves asked, not looking up from her notes. An anonymous tip. I kept my promise to Angela. Whatever her reasons for helping me, I wouldn't expose her. Convenient. Agent Reeves didn't sound convinced. The evidence speaks for itself. I gestured to the screens where Adam's financial records were displayed. The Cayman accounts, the double books, the client statements, it's all there. Along with your recording of Mr. Warren essentially admitting to setting you up. Agent Reeves finally met my eyes. That was resourceful. I didn't tell her about the keystroke logger. Some details were better left unshared. What happens now? I asked. We continue our investigation. Mr. Warren and several associates have been brought in for questioning. She closed her folder. You're free to go, Ms. Warren. We'll be in touch if we need anything else. Outside, the October air felt crisp and clean after the stifling conference room. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Celeste, 1 from Phoebe, and a text from Wayne. Need to talk. Meet me? After his betrayal, Wayne was the last person I wanted to see. But curiosity won out. I texted back, Where? His response came immediately, The bench. You know the one. I did know. It was where we'd first discussed Adam's fraud. A public place, safely neutral. Wayne was already waiting when I arrived, looking more haggard than ever. He stood when he saw me, uncertainty in every line of his body. I wasn't sure you'd come. I almost didn't. I remained standing, keeping distance between us. Adam said you called him, warned him about me. I did. Wayne didn't try to deny it, but not for the reason you think. Enlighten me. I needed him to believe I was still on his side. It was the only way to get access to his private server. Wayne pulled out his phone, showing me an email. I sent this to the SEC yesterday morning, before you went to Adam's office. I scanned the email, detailed instructions for accessing Adam's hidden accounts, including server locations and passwords. You set him up, I realized. Used me as a distraction while you gathered the final evidence. Used is a strong word. Wayne pocketed his phone. I knew you were smart enough to handle Adam, and I knew he'd be focused on you, not on what I was doing. You could have told me. Would you have agreed to it? To being the decoy? I considered this. Probably not. Exactly. He gestured to the bench. Can we sit, please? I hesitated, then sat at the far end. Wayne took the hint and kept his distance. There's something else you should know, he said. About Angela. She gave me the password to the Cayman accounts. Surprise flickered across his face. She did? Right after I left Adam's office. She turned on him. I studied Wayne's reaction. You didn't know? No. He looked genuinely shocked. I thought she was loyal to the end. Apparently not. I remembered the resolve in Angela's eyes. I think she was tired of being controlled. By Adam? By all of them. Adam, Olive. I trailed off, pieces clicking into place. Did you know Olive was involved in the fraud too? Wayne nodded. She was the one who brought in the wealthy clients, old money families who trusted the Warren name. The full scope of their operation was still unfolding, a family business built on lies and theft, and I had been an unwitting part of it. "What will you do now?" Wayne asked. The question caught me off guard. I'd been so focused on exposing Adam that I hadn't thought beyond this moment. "I don't know," I admitted. "Start over, I guess." "For what it's worth, I'm sorry." Wayne's voice was quiet. "For not being honest with you." I should have been angry. Instead, I felt a strange sense of peace. We all did what we had to do. I stood, ready to leave this bench and everything it represented behind. Goodbye, Wayne. Phoebe's apartment was warm and chaotic, exactly what I needed after the sterile SEC offices. She opened the door and immediately pulled me into a fierce hug. "I saw the news," she said into my hair. "Adam's firm is under federal investigation. That was you, wasn't it?" "Part of it." I followed her inside, where Celeste was already waiting, an open bottle of wine on the coffee table. "The avenging angel returns," Celeste said, pouring me a glass. "How does it feel?" I took the wine, considering. "Unfinished." "What do you mean?" Phoebe settled beside me. "Adam's going down. You won." "It's not about winning." I took a sip, letting the warmth spread through me. "There's one more thing I need to do." The storage facility was on the outskirts of town. Anonymous, secure, forgettable. I entered the code and rolled up the door to Unit 247. Inside sat a single garment bag. I unzipped it slowly, revealing my wedding dress. The real one. I'd never sold it to any consignment shop. That had been a story I told my therapist, my friends, myself. The truth was, I hadn't been ready to let go. Until now. I lifted the dress, feeling its weight one last time. The beadwork caught the fluorescent light, memories shimmering across the fabric, some beautiful, some painful, all part of me. From my bag, I took out a small card and a pen. I wrote a simple message, then attached it to the dress. Outside, I placed the garment bag carefully in a donation box for a women's shelter that provided professional clothing for job interviews and special occasions. Someone else would make new memories in this dress, better ones. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Warren Investment CEO and CFO indicted on multiple fraud charges. I didn't need to read it. That chapter was closed. As I walked to my car, I felt lighter than I had in years. Adam had taken many things from me, my trust, my confidence, years of my life, but he'd never taken my resilience. That had always been mine. My phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize. "Hello? Ms. Warren? This is Diane from Horizon Marketing. We received your application and would like to schedule an interview." The job I'd applied for last week, a fresh start in a new city. "Yes," I said, smiling into the phone. "I'm available." As I drove away, I thought about the note I'd left with the wedding dress. The past doesn't define you. Neither do the people who couldn't see your worth. This dress deserves a better story. So do you. So did I.
I stood in my driveway, staring at the U-Haul truck that definitely wasn't supposed to be there. My sister Talia was directing two guys carrying a queen-size mattress toward what was supposed to be my rental unit. The same unit my tenant Everett had only vacated 3 days ago. "What's going on?" I asked, even though I already knew. I'm Stella, and at 32, I thought I'd finally established some boundaries with my family. Clearly, I was wrong. "Oh, hey sis!" Talia's face lit up with that magnetic smile that always got her whatever she wanted. "Remember how we talked about me staying here for a few weeks after Brad and I split? Well, I found this amazing deal on Facebook Marketplace, and I couldn't pass it up." I watched, speechless, as more furniture appeared from the truck. A sectional sofa, a coffee table, 2 dressers. This wasn't crashing for a few weeks' furniture. "We didn't discuss any furniture," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You said you needed a place to sleep while you figured things out." Talia waved her hand dismissively. "I can't sleep on the floor, Stella. Don't be ridiculous." She turned to the movers. "The bedroom's through there, guys. I'd spent 5 years saving for this duplex. 5 years of overtime shifts at the accounting firm, cooking at home, and saying no to vacations. When I finally bought it, I renovated both units myself, spending weekends painting and updating fixtures until my fingers were raw. "Talia, wait!" I called after her as she bounced up the stairs. "We need to talk about expectations and rent." She spun around, her perfectly styled hair swishing. "Rent? Are you serious? Mum said you wouldn't charge me rent. I just lost half my savings in the breakup." "Mum doesn't own this building," I said firmly. I do." "Speaking of Mum," Talia's phone chirped and her face brightened. "She's bringing over some houseplants to liven up the place. And Dad's coming with his tools to mount my TV." My stomach dropped. "You told them to come over today?" "Of course. They're so excited I'm living closer to them now." She emphasized the word living in a way that made my skin crawl. Before I could respond, our mother's SUV pulled up, loaded with what looked like an entire garden centre. Dad's truck wasn't far behind. "Stella, honey," Mum called out, already unloading pots. "Come help us bring these in. I got some for your unit too. This place could use more life." I watched as my carefully maintained property transformed into a family project. Dad was measuring walls, Mum was arranging plants, and Talia was directing traffic like she owned the place. My place. "We need to set some ground rules." I tried again, following Talia into what was rapidly becoming her bedroom. "This is temporary, right?" "Of course," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Just until I get back on my feet. You know how hard it is out there right now?" "And how long will that be?" "Don't be such a buzzkill, Stella," she sighed. "We're sisters. This is what family does." "Stella," Mum's voice carried from the living room, "where do you keep your spare keys? Talia needs a set." I closed my eyes, counting to 10. "There aren't any spare keys, Mum. I'll have to get them made." "Well, do it today," she insisted. "Talia needs to be able to come and go." By sunset, my sister's unit looked like she'd lived there for years. Mum had arranged for a grocery delivery. Dad had mounted not just the TV, but also several floating shelves. And Talia had transformed the spare room into a home office. Apparently, she'd also brought her work-from-home setup. Standing in my own unit that evening, I could hear them all laughing upstairs, probably sharing takeout and congratulating themselves on such a smooth move. My phone buzzed with a text from Talia. "Thanks again, sis. You're literally saving my life. Promise I'll be the best tenant ever." I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled out the property folder from my desk, the one containing 5 years of careful planning, budgeting, and dreams of financial independence. Somewhere in there was the original offer letter from Logan, a developer who'd wanted to buy the place last year. I'd turned him down flat then. Now, watching another moving truck pull up outside, this one carrying what looked like Talia's patio furniture, I wondered if I should have kept his number. 3 weeks into Talia's temporary stay, I woke at 2 a.m. to bass-heavy music vibrating through my ceiling. Again. Voices and laughter filtered down, along with the distinct sound of high heels on hardwood floors. My carefully restored hardwood floors. I grabbed my phone and texted Talia. "People are trying to sleep. Please keep it down." 3 dots appeared, then, "It's Friday night. Stop being such a grandma." I pulled on my robe and headed upstairs. Before I could knock, the door swung open, and a guy I didn't know nearly crashed into me on his way to smoke outside. "Stella!" Talia appeared in the doorway, wine glass in hand. "Come join us. We're celebrating Melissa's promotion." Behind her, at least 15 people crowded my rental unit. Someone had pushed all the furniture against the walls to create a dance floor. Red wine glasses balanced precariously on my windowsills. "This isn't a party venue," I said. "You need to end this now." "God, you're such a buzzkill." Talia rolled her eyes. "I live here too, you know." "Actually, we haven't even discussed a lease yet. You're technically not a tenant." Whatever, Mum said. Mum doesn't own this building. The music suddenly cut out. Everyone was staring at us. Fine, Talia snapped. Party's over, everyone. My sister's having one of her control freak moments. As people filed out, I noticed water rings on the wood surfaces and what looked like a wine stain on the carpet. My phone buzzed. A text from Everett, my former tenant. Hey, Stella, sorry to bother you so late. Just wanted to let you know I'm breaking my lease early. Already found a new place. The environment has become uncomfortable. I'll be out by the end of the month. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Everett had been the perfect tenant for 3 years. His rent helped cover my mortgage. The next morning, I cornered Talia in the shared laundry room. We need to talk about last night. I already apologized, she said, not looking up from her phone. No, you didn't actually. And now I'm losing my other tenant because of these parties. Good. Now you can let Jenny move in. She's looking for a place, and it'll be so fun having my best friend next door. That's not happening, I said firmly, and we need to discuss your rental agreement. Talia's phone chimed. Her face lit up. Oh, Mum and Dad are here. What? Why? They're helping me pick paint colours. The beige in my living room is so depressing. I followed her outside where our parents were already unloading paint swatches from Mum's car. You can't paint the unit without permission, I said. And you're parked in the tenant spot again, Mum. Don't be ridiculous, honey. Mum waved me off. Where else would I park when I visit my daughters? The street? Like everyone else has to? Stella, Dad's voice had that warning tone I remembered from childhood. Your mother isn't everyone else. This is family. I watched them parade upstairs with their paint samples and interior design ideas. Through the window, I could see them gesturing at walls, planning changes to my property like I wasn't even there. That evening, my friend Phoebe came over to hear me vent. You need to evict her, she said bluntly, pouring more wine. I can't. My parents would never forgive me. They're walking all over you. Yesterday, Talia posted on Instagram about her new apartment. She's even tagged herself as living here permanently. My phone buzzed, a text from Mum. Dinner at our house tomorrow night. Non-negotiable. We need to discuss some changes to the building. Your father has some wonderful ideas for updating Talia's kitchen. Talia's kitchen? Phoebe read over my shoulder. Girl, they're not even pretending anymore. They're stealing your property in broad daylight. I walked to my window and looked out at the building I'd worked so hard to own. Mum's car was still in the tenant spot, now with a small dent in the door that definitely hadn't been there before. Music started thumping from upstairs, not as loud as last night, but a clear message that Talia had no intention of changing her behaviour. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out Logan's business card. He'd said something last year about the property being perfect for his boutique apartment development project. At the time, I'd been offended at the suggestion of selling. Now, watching another of Talia's friends pull up outside, I picked up my phone and started dialing. The moment I walked into my parents' house for dinner, I knew something was wrong. The dining room table was set with Mum's good china, the set she only used for important family discussions. Talia was already seated, looking smug. Stella, honey, Mum bustled out of the kitchen. Perfect timing. I made your favourite lasagna. Thanks, I said cautiously, taking my usual seat. What's the occasion? Can't a mother cook for her daughters? She placed the steaming dish on the table. Your father will be down in a minute. He's just finishing some calculations. Calculations. My stomach tightened. Dad appeared with a yellow legal pad covered in numbers. Ah, good. We're all here. He sat down heavily at the head of the table. Let's eat while we talk. Mom served generous portions while making small talk about her garden club. Talia texted under the table, barely concealing her smile. I pushed my food around my plate, waiting for the other shoe to drop. So, Dad cleared his throat, we've been thinking about the building situation. There it was. What building situation? I asked, though I already knew. Well, Mom jumped in. Now that Talia's settled in, we should discuss making it official. Your father and I have worked out the numbers. Official? My voice sounded distant to my own ears. We're thinking you should sell Talia her unit, Dad said, consulting his notepad. We can handle the down payment and she can take over the mortgage payments for that portion. I set my fork down. The building isn't divided into separate units for sale. It's my property. One property. Don't be difficult, Stella, Mum sighed. We can handle the legal details. Your father's golf buddy is a real estate attorney. I'm not selling anything, I said firmly, and Talia hasn't even signed a lease yet. Talia finally looked up from her phone. I don't need a lease. I'm family. Exactly, Mum beamed. And family takes care of each other. You don't need the rental income. You have your accounting job. But Talia needs a stable home after everything she's been through with Brad. Everything she's been through? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She cheated on him with his business partner. That's not important right now. Dad waved his hand dismissively. What's important is securing Talia's future. We've already looked into contractors for the renovations she wants. Renovations? I choked on my water. You can't be serious. Just a few updates, Talia chimed in. New kitchen cabinets, maybe knock down a wall or two to open up the space. Absolutely not. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. This is insane. You're all acting like my property is suddenly community property. Sit down, Stella. Mum's voice turned sharp. Frankly, we thought this was already decided. Why else would you let your sister move in? Because she needed temporary help, not a free house. No one's asking for anything free. Dad consulted his notes again. We're offering fair market value for half the building. Half of my building, I corrected him. The building I saved for. The building I renovated myself while Talia was posting Instagram stories from Cancun with Brad's credit card. That's not fair, Talia protested. Just because you chose to waste your 20s being boring. Boring? I was building something for myself. Girls, Mum interrupted. This isn't productive. Stella, we're trying to help you both. This way, you'll each have security. I already have security. I have a building that I own outright. Dad sighed heavily. Don't make this difficult. We've already discussed it with the contractor. He can start next month. You what? The room started spinning. You scheduled renovations for a property you don't own? Well, Mom smiled tightly. We assumed you'd want what's best for your sister. I grabbed my purse and stood up again. This dinner is over. Stella, Dad's voice held a warning. If you walk out now, you'll what? Take away my inheritance. Good luck finding something you haven't already promised to Talia. I headed for the door, my hand shaking. Behind me, I could hear Mom starting to cry and Talia making exaggerated soothing noises. Don't expect us to help when you end up alone, Mum called after me. All you care about is money. I slammed the door behind me and sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. My phone started buzzing with texts. Mum, you're being very selfish right now. Talia, thanks for ruining dinner. Again. Dad, call your mother when you're ready to be reasonable. I turned my phone off and started driving. Instead of heading home, I found myself pulling into a downtown parking garage. Logan's office was just around the corner. He'd said to call first, but this couldn't wait. It was time to end this. Logan's office was closed, but through the glass doors, I could see light spilling from under his private office door. I pressed the intercom. We're closed, a tired voice answered. It's Stella, from the Harrison Street duplex. A pause, then a buzz. The door unlocked. Logan met me in the lobby, jacket off, sleeves rolled up. He looked exactly as he had a year ago when he'd first offered to buy my building. Calm, collected, and slightly amused. "Let me guess," he said, leading me to his office. "You're ready to sell." I sank into the chair across from his desk. "Is your offer still good?" "Actually," he pulled up something on his computer. "I'd be willing to offer more. That area's gotten hotter in the last year. We're developing the whole block now." My phone buzzed again. I pulled it out to silence it and saw 3 missed calls from Mum, plus a text from Talia. "The contractor needs to measure my bathroom tomorrow. Let him in if I'm not home." I turned the phone off completely. "Your original offer," I said to Logan. "What exactly were you planning to do with the property?" He turned his monitor so I could see the renderings. "Boutique apartments, high-end finishes, proper soundproofing, dedicated parking. The whole block's getting a facelift." "Soundproofing sounds nice," I muttered. "Trouble with neighbours?" "You could say that." I told him about Talia, the parties, the family dinner. By the end, he was shaking his head. "Family's complicated," he said diplomatically. "But business doesn't have to be. I can have paperwork ready by tomorrow. Full, cash offer, quick close." "How quick?" 2 weeks, maybe less. My lawyers are efficient." I leaned forward. "And after it's sold? What's the timeline for changes?" 30 days notice to any current tenants, then demolition starts immediately. We're on a schedule with the rest of the block." "Perfect. One condition," I said. "Nobody knows until it's done. Not the sale, not the development plans, nothing." Logan studied me for a moment, then nodded. "We can keep it quiet. But you'll need to maintain normalcy. Any suspicious behaviour could tip them off." "I can do normal," I said. "I'm good at being boring, apparently." Back home, Talia's lights were still on, music playing softly. Mum's car was in the tenant spot again. I walked past it into my unit and opened my laptop. A message from Phoebe was waiting. "How was dinner?" I called her instead of typing. "They want her to own half the building," I said when she answered. "They're already planning renovations." "Tell me you're not considering it." "No, I just left Logan's office. I'm selling the whole thing." Silence then. "Holy shit, you're really doing it." "They want to take my building? Fine, but they don't get to keep it." "What about Talia? Where will she go?" As if on cue, footsteps sounded above me, followed by furniture dragging. Probably redecorating again. Not my problem anymore. The next morning, I acted normal. Waved to Talia as she left for work. Smiled at Mum when she dropped off more houseplants. Even helped Dad carry in some renovation magazines. "See?" Mum beamed. "This is much better. We're all working together." I nodded and excused myself for a work call. Actually Logan's lawyer with preliminary paperwork. That evening, Talia hosted another party. Smaller this time, but still noisy. I didn't complain. Let her enjoy it while she could. My phone buzzed with a text from Logan. "Papers ready? Meeting tomorrow at 10? I replied, "See you then." Another text arrived, this one from Talia. "The contractor's coming at 9 a.m. to check the plumbing. Let him in if I'm not up yet." I smiled at my phone. By 9 a.m. tomorrow, I'd be signing away their renovation dreams. Phoebe called just before midnight. "Are you sure about this? It's pretty nuclear." I watched another of Talia's friends pull into my spot, music blaring. Through my window, I could see Mum's car still parked where it didn't belong, now taking up 2 spaces. "They thought I was a pushover," I said. "They thought they could just take what I built because we're family." Well, family works both ways. And sometimes family needs a hard lesson about consequences. What will you do after? I'd already found a luxury condo downtown, walking distance to my office. The sale price would cover it easily, with plenty left over. "I'm going to live my life," I said, "without anyone else's name on my deed." Upstairs, something crashed, followed by laughter. Tomorrow, I'd sign the papers that would start the countdown on their borrowed time. They wanted my building so badly, they could have it, for exactly 30 more days. The next 2 weeks were an exercise in restraint. I signed the papers with Logan, then went about my life as if nothing had changed. I smiled through family dinners, nodded at renovation plans, and bit my tongue when Talia's friends continued treating my property like their personal party venue. The kitchen contractor needs your approval on these finishes, Mum announced one morning, spreading samples across my coffee table. We're thinking marble countertops for Talia's unit. I said non-committally, signing the final closing documents hidden in my work folder. Are you even listening? This is important. Sorry, busy with work. I gestured at my laptop. Big project, she huffed. More important than family. I thought about the demolition permits Logan had already secured. Nothing's more important than family, Mum. That seemed to satisfy her. She left the samples behind. For when you're ready to focus on what matters. Later that day, Talia barged into my unit without knocking. The contractor's asking about load-bearing walls. Can you call him? Sure, I said, knowing I never would. Leave his number. What's with you lately? She narrowed her eyes. You're being weird, like, too nice. Just accepting the situation? I shrugged. She didn't look convinced, but left anyway. Through my window, I watched her meet up with friends in the driveway, all of them carrying overnight bags for what looked like another impromptu party. My phone buzzed. Logan. Closing, completed, keys to your new condo ready next week. I'd already started secretly moving my important papers and irreplaceable items to a storage unit. The condo would be ready before the notices went out. Perfect timing. That weekend, Dad showed up with actual contractors to just look things over. I stayed in my unit, listening to them walk around upstairs, planning their changes to a building that technically wasn't mine anymore. Stella, Dad called down, come look at what we're thinking for the layout. I went upstairs, playing my part. The contractors had drawn lines on the walls, marking where they planned to knock them down. We'll need permits, one of them said. I caught myself before saying those weren't my problem anymore. Right, permits, I echoed. Don't worry about that, Dad waved his hand. My golf buddy knows people at the city office. If he only knew Logan had already secured every permit needed for the entire block. The next few days passed in a blur of family texts and renovation catalogues. Mum kept leaving paint samples in my mailbox. Talia sent endless Pinterest links for inspiration. I responded with just enough enthusiasm to avoid suspicion. You're handling this well, Phoebe said over coffee. Almost too well. They don't suspect anything. They're too busy planning their takeover to notice I'm planning my escape. When do they find out? Management company delivers the notices next week. I'll be moved out the night before. Damn, she whispered. Cold. Colder than ambushing me at dinner? Colder than scheduling renovations on my property without asking? Just then, my phone lit up with a group text from Mum. Family, meeting tonight, bringing the contractor's estimate and timeline. Stella, please have your checkbook ready for the deposit. I showed Phoebe the message. See? They're still making plans for my money. What are you going to tell them tonight? Nothing. I'll say I forgot my checkbook. Make excuses. In a few days, it won't matter anyway. That evening, I sat through another family dinner, another round of renovation plans, another lecture about family obligations. I watched them pass around paint swatches and cabinet samples like they were planning a simple remodel instead of a hostile takeover. The contractor needs the deposit by Friday, Dad announced. 10,000 to start. Friday? I took a sip of wine to hide my smile. Sure, I can do Friday. Mom beamed. See? I told you she'd come around. This is what family does. We support each other. Talia reached over and squeezed my hand. Thanks, sis. I promise I'll make it beautiful. I squeezed back, knowing that by Friday, the management company's notices would already be posted. The demolition crew would already be scheduled. My phone vibrated. Logan again. Final walkthrough of your condo tomorrow at 9 a.m. Keys ready after. I excused myself to the bathroom and typed back, Perfect. Everything else on schedule? His response came quickly. Notices go out Thursday morning. Demolition team starts in 31 days. I returned to the table where my family was now discussing paint colours for Talia's soon-to-be renovated kitchen. Mom had actual tear sheets from design magazines spread across the table. What do you think about this shade for the cabinets? She asked. I smiled. Whatever you think is best, Mom. Whatever you think is best. Thursday morning, I woke up in my new condo, surrounded by boxes. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see the city coming to life. My phone was already buzzing. The management company just posted something on our doors, Talia texted. What's going on? I didn't respond. Instead, I made coffee and waited. 3 minutes later, my phone exploded. Mum, call me immediately. Dad, what the hell is this notice? Talia, 30 days? Are you kidding me? The doorbell rang. I checked the security camera, Mom and Dad looking livid. I pressed the intercom. Where are you? Mom demanded. The building's empty. I moved. You what? I'll meet you at the coffee shop around the corner in 20 minutes, I said calmly. We can talk there. The coffee shop was neutral territory, public enough to prevent a scene. I arrived first, choosing a table near the back. They stormed in minutes later, Talia trailing behind them, clutching the eviction notice. Explain this, Dad slapped the paper down. Some company claims they own the building? They do, I said, sipping my latte. I sold it. The silence that followed was deafening. You sold it? Mum's voice shook. Without telling us? Like how you planned renovations without telling me? That was different, Talia burst out. We're family. Family doesn't try to steal property, I said evenly. Family doesn't schedule contractors without permission. Family doesn't assume they can just take what someone else built. We weren't stealing, Mum's voice rose. We were trying to help both our daughters. By taking from one to give to the other. You can't do this, Dad leaned forward. We'll fight it. I'll call my lawyer friend. It's done, I cut him off. The sale closed last week. The demolition permits are approved. In 30 days, the building comes down with the rest of the block. Demolition? Talia went pale. They're tearing it down. Logan's building luxury apartments. The whole block is being redeveloped. Logan? Mom's eyes narrowed. The developer who tried to buy it last year? You've been planning this? No, you forced my hand. You thought you could bully me into giving up my property. Well, congratulations. It's not my property anymore. Where are we supposed to go? Talia's voice cracked. All my stuff is there. You have 30 days to figure it out, just like any other tenant. Tenant? Mum slammed her hand on the table. She's your sister. My sister, who never signed a lease. My sister, who threw parties every weekend. My sister, who let her friends take over my parking spots. My sister, who decided my investment property was her personal playground. We were going to pay you for it, Dad protested. No, you were going to undervalue my property and strong-arm me into a below-market sale. Well, guess what? I got full market value. Actually, I got above market value. Talia started crying. Mum rushed to comfort her while Dad pulled out his phone. I'm calling the lawyer right now. This can't be legal. It's completely legal, I stood up. Check the property records. Call the management company. Hell, call Logan himself. It's done. You do this to your own family? Mum's voice dripped with venom. You did this. All of you. You thought you could take advantage of me because I'm boring Stella who always gives in. Not anymore. Where are you even living? Talia asked between sobs. Somewhere none of you have keys to. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Behind me, I could hear Mom starting to cry, Dad arguing with someone on the phone, and Talia wailing about her furniture. One more thing, I turned back. Mom, move your car from the tenant spot. It's not your building anymore either. Outside, my phone started ringing immediately. I declined the calls one by one. Mum, Dad, Talia, Mum again, Talia again. A text from Phoebe popped up. How did it go? Before I could respond, another message appeared. From Logan. Management company reports notice delivery completed. Demolition team confirmed for day 31. Need anything else? I looked back at the coffee shop window. My family was huddled together, probably plotting their next move. But there was nothing they could do. No lawyers to call, no strings to pull, no guilt trips to lay. No, I typed back to Logan. Everything's perfect. I walked to my car, ignoring the growing stream of texts and calls. In my rearview mirror, I could see them emerging from the coffee shop, looking shell-shocked and angry. They wanted my building so badly. Well, now they could watch it come down brick by brick. The next week was a war of attrition. My family cycled through every manipulation tactic they knew. First came the guilt trips. Mum left sobbing voicemails. How could you do this to your sister? To your family? Where did we go wrong, raising you? Then, the threats. Dad's messages got increasingly aggressive. Our lawyer says we can prove family agreement. You'll regret this, Stella. Finally, the bargaining. Talia tried sweet-talking. Come on, sis, we can work this out. What if we pay more? What if we... I blocked them all. But on day 8, they ambushed me outside my office. We know where you work, at least, Mum said triumphantly as I exited the building. They formed a semicircle, blocking my path to the parking garage. What do you want? To talk sense into you? Dad stepped forward. We've been in touch with Logan. That got my attention. What? He won't budge on the sale, Talia sniffed. Says it's ironclad. Of course it is. But he told us how much you got for it. Dad's voice was accusatory. You made a fortune, and you're just leaving your sister homeless. She's not homeless. She has money. She can rent somewhere else. It's not the same, Talia wailed. Yet that was supposed to be my home. No, it was supposed to be my investment, my future, my choice. Well, your choice has destroyed this family, Mum declared dramatically. I hope you're happy in your fancy new condo, while your sister suffers. I felt something snap inside me. Suffers? I laughed. Like I suffered watching you all treat my property like a community playground? Like I suffered sitting through that ambush dinner where you planned to steal my building? Like I suffered every time you dismissed my hard work as boring while praising Talia for existing? We never, Mum started. You always. My whole life, everything I built was just a resource for Talia to use. Well, guess what? I built something so valuable, a developer paid premium price for it, and none of you get to benefit from it this time. My sister needs to grow up. She's 28. She cheated on her boyfriend, lost her free ride, and expected me to provide the next one. Not anymore. Is that what this is about? Talia's voice turned sharp. You're jealous because Brad loved me. Brad didn't love you. He funded you just like Mom and Dad fund you, just like you expected me to fund you. Find someone else to parasitize. How dare you? Mom stepped forward, hand raised. I caught her wrist before she could slap me. Don't ever try that. Security was watching us now. I released Mom's wrist and stepped back. The building is sold. The demolition is scheduled. You have 22 days to find new housing. Those are the facts. Accept them. You're dead to us, Dad said quietly. No daughter of mine would do this. No daughter of yours would stand up for herself, protect her investments, refuse to be exploited, then I guess I never was your daughter. Stella, please, Talia tried one last time. Where am I supposed to go? Wherever you want, just not my property, not anymore. I walked past them to my car. In my rearview mirror, I could see them standing there, looking lost and angry. Mum was crying again. Dad was on his phone, probably calling his useless lawyer friend. Talia was stamping her foot like a toddler. At home, I poured a glass of wine and watched the sunset from my new balcony. My phone buzzed with a text from Logan. Your family came by the office today, very upset, wanted to know if the sale could be reversed. And I told them what I told you last year. That block is prime real estate. The development is happening, with or without their approval. Another text arrived. This one from Phoebe. Your mum just posted a long Facebook rant about ungrateful daughters and family betrayal. I opened Facebook to find I'd been unfriended by my entire family. Their posts were full of vague accusations about greed and betrayal, garnering sympathetic comments from relatives who didn't know the whole story. Fine by me. My phone buzzed again. An unknown number. This is Margaret from the management company. Your sister is refusing to allow the inspector entry for the pre-demolition assessment. I forwarded the message to Logan, who responded immediately. On it. We'll get a court order if necessary. Nothing stops this development. I blocked the unknown number and walked to my window. From here, I could just barely see my old building in the distance. Soon, it would be gone. And with it, all the expectations and obligations that had weighed me down. They thought they could break me. Instead, I broke free. The demolition crew arrived at dawn. I watched from across the street as they set up their equipment, marking off areas with yellow tape. A small crowd had gathered, mostly curious neighbours, but I spotted my family among them. Talia had moved out yesterday, leaving behind a mess of damaged walls and stained carpets. Mom and Dad had helped her, shooting dark looks at the security cameras Logan had installed after their attempts to delay the inspection. Ready for this? Phoebe appeared beside me with 2 coffee cups. More than ready. A sleek car pulled up and Logan stepped out carrying blueprints. He noticed me and walked over. Quite the audience, he said, nodding toward my family. Your sister tried to get an emergency injunction yesterday. Judge threw it out in 10 minutes. Of course she did. Final inspection's done. Place is clear. We start in 30 minutes. Mom broke away from the group and marched toward us. Stella, are you really going to stand there and watch this? Yes, actually, I am. All her furniture's gone, Phoebe muttered. Guess they finally accepted it was happening? They had no choice, Logan checked his watch. Sheriff's department made that clear when they tried to chain themselves to the door last week. Mom reached us, face red. That building was meant for family. No, I said calmly. It was meant for investment. And that's exactly what I did with it. By destroying it? By selling it at peak value to a developer who saw its actual worth, not its value as a free ride for Talia. The demolition foreman approached Logan. We're ready when you are, sir. Mum grabbed my arm. Stop this, please. We can still work something out. I gently removed her hand. It's done, Mum. Go stand with Dad and Talia. You'll want to watch this. She walked back, defeated. Talia was crying again, clutching Dad's arm. Several of her friends stood nearby, filming on their phones, probably for some dramatic social media post about family betrayal. The machine roared to life. Logan gave the signal. The first swing of the wrecking ball felt like freedom. Brick and mortar crumbled. Dust filled the air. My family huddled together, watching their plans collapse along with the walls. Holy shit, Phoebe whispered. You actually did it. Yes, I smiled. I did. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Amanda from Logan's office. The investors loved your proposal for the new retail space. They'd like to meet next week. I showed Logan the message. He grinned. Told you they would. You've got good instincts for development. Want to come see the other sites after this? She's working with you. Mum had come back overhearing. After what you did to our family home. It was never your family home, I said firmly. It was my stepping stone, and now it's opening doors to bigger opportunities. Another crash, another wall down. Talia screamed something incoherent and ran to her car. You've lost a daughter, Mum declared. I hope you're happy with your business deals instead of family. I didn't lose a daughter, Mum. You lost one, the one who worked hard, made smart investments, and refused to be taken advantage of. Your choice, she stormed off. Dad wouldn't even look at me. Their cars peeled away one by one, leaving tyre marks on the pavement. Good riddance, Phoebe said. Logan checked his blueprints again. The new building will be 15 stories, premium apartments, ground floor retail. Want to see where your investment office could go? I watched the last wall fall, taking with it years of family expectations and obligations. Show me. We walked through the dust toward his car, leaving behind the rubble of my old life. My phone kept buzzing with messages from flying monkeys, distant relatives and family friends telling me how cruel I was, how family should come first, how I'd regret this. I blocked them all. Ready to see your future? Logan opened the car door. I looked back one last time at the pile of bricks that used to be my prison. The dust was settling, revealing clear sky above. They thought they were building their future on my foundation, I said, sliding into the car. But I wasn't the one who got evicted. I got free. Phoebe raised her coffee cup in salute. To freedom. To consequences, I corrected her, watching the demolition crew begin clearing the site. And to building something new. Logan spread the blueprints across the car's hood. Speaking of building something new, let's go see where you're going to help us reshape this city, I smiled, leaving the dust and drama behind. They wanted my building so badly? They could have the rubble. I had bigger things to build.
The paint was still wet on my canvas when my card declined. I stared at my phone, the notification glaring up at me like an accusation. Insufficient funds. I just checked my account yesterday. There had been over $47,000 in there. My entire life savings. I wiped my hands on my already paint-stained jeans and tried again. Same result. With trembling fingers, I opened my banking app. Balance 0.00. My stomach dropped through the floor of my studio apartment. The paintbrush slipped from my fingers, leaving a streak of crimson across the worn hardwood. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. This had to be a mistake. I called the bank, pacing the length of my small apartment, stepping over canvases and supplies. The customer service rep's voice was professionally sympathetic as she confirmed what I already knew. Every penny had been transferred out yesterday afternoon. To another account, authorized with my credentials. But I didn't authorize anything, I whispered. I'm sorry, Ms. Winters, but the transfer was completed using your secure login and authentication code. My mind raced. Who would have access to... Oh, my family dinner last Sunday. My phone, left on the table when I went to help Mom in the kitchen. Angela hovering near my belongings, as always. I'd thought nothing of it. I hung up and immediately called my sister. Angela speaking. Her voice was crisp, professional. I could picture her at her desk in her corner office, manicured nails tapping impatiently. It's Tessa, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. Did you take my money? A pause. Not of guilt or surprise, but of annoyance. Oh, that. We had to make an executive decision about the family investments. Executive decision? That was everything I had. Don't be dramatic, Tessa. The opportunity Dad found was time-sensitive. We needed capital quickly. So you stole from me? My voice cracked. Borrowed, she corrected. It's a family investment. We're all benefiting. You didn't ask me. You didn't tell me. Because you would have said no. You always say no to the big opportunities. You're too cautious, too small-minded. This is going to triple our investment in 6 months. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went white. Put it back, Angela. Now. She sighed, the sound of someone dealing with an unreasonable child. I can't. The money's already invested, but don't worry. You'll thank us when the returns come in. I need that money now. For rent. For food. Oh, please. You've always been so dramatic. Just ask Dad for an advance on your share. I'm sure he'll float you a few hundred to tide you over. My free hand curled into a fist. I want to speak to Dad. He's in meetings all day. Look, I've got to run. We'll talk about this at Sunday dinner, okay? Love you. She hung up before I could respond. I stood frozen in the middle of my apartment, surrounded by half-finished paintings. The afternoon light slanted through my windows, illuminating dust motes and the life I'd built for myself. A life that had just been deemed worthless by my own family. My phone buzzed with a text. Michaela, my younger sister. Angela told me you're freaking out about the investment. Don't be such a baby. This is going to be huge for all of us. I didn't respond. Instead, I called my mother. Tessa, darling. She answered, her voice distant as always. I'm just heading into my book club. Mom, did you know about this? About taking my money? A pause. Your father mentioned something about consolidating family resources for a new venture. I don't get involved in the financial decisions. You know that. They emptied my account. Everything I had. Well, I'm sure your father knows what he's doing. He always does. Her voice lowered to a conspiratorial whisper. Though between us, maybe if you'd done something more substantial with your life than painting pictures, he would have consulted you. The familiar sting of her dismissal barely registered through my shock. I have to go, darling. We'll sort it all out on Sunday. Another call ended. Another door closed. I sank onto my paint-splattered stool, staring at the half-finished canvas before me. It was a commission that would have paid next month's rent. A commission I couldn't complete without supplies I now couldn't afford. My entire family had robbed me, and they expected me to show up for Sunday dinner like nothing had happened. I looked around my studio, the only place I'd ever felt truly myself, the only space I'd created without their interference or judgment. And now even this was at risk. My phone buzzed again. A final text, from my father this time. Stop bothering everyone. The decision's been made. This is what's best for the family. Something inside me, something that had bent and yielded for 28 years, finally snapped. I looked down at my hands, still stained with paint. Red for passion, black for void, white for beginnings. They thought they knew me. The quiet middle child, the artistic disappointment, the one who wouldn't fight back. They had no idea what I was capable of. I wiped my tears with the back of my hand, leaving a smear of color across my cheek. If my family wanted to play with fire, I would show them exactly how hot it could burn. I spent 3 days in a fog of rage and disbelief. My calls went unanswered. My texts were met with dismissive responses or complete silence. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't paint. On the third morning, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, barely recognizing the hollow-eyed woman staring back at me. My rent was due in 2 weeks. I had $143 in my wallet and nothing else. They can't just take everything, I whispered to my reflection. But they had. I called in sick to the gallery where I worked part-time, then pulled out my laptop. If my family wouldn't answer my calls, I'd find another way to understand what had happened. 5 hours later, my eyes burned from staring at the screen. I'd found nothing about any major investment opportunity in my father's company records. Nothing in the business news. Nothing that explained why they needed nearly $50,000 so urgently that they had to steal it. What I did find was an Instagram post from Angela. Her lounging on a yacht, champagne in hand, captioned, "Celebrating our newest venture. Blessed Nayakshar family first." Posted the day after they drained my account. I slammed my laptop shut and grabbed my keys. I needed air. Needed to walk until my legs gave out or my mind cleared. Whichever came first. The coffee shop 6 blocks from my apartment had always been my refuge. Tucked between a bookstore and a vintage clothing shop, it was quiet enough to think, but busy enough to disappear into. I ordered the cheapest thing on the menu and took a seat by the window. Tessa? Tessa Winters? I looked up to see a vaguely familiar face. Dark hair, intense eyes, the shadow of stubble along his jaw. "Sorry," he said. "You probably don't remember me. Louis Reyes? We met at your father's holiday party last year." The memory surfaced slowly. Louis had been one of the tech consultants my father had hired. We'd talked briefly about art and technology while everyone else networked around us. "I remember," I said, gesturing to the empty chair across from me. "You were the only person there who didn't ask what my real job was." He smiled, sliding into the seat. "Because art is a real job. Your work was incredible, by the way. That series with the fractured perspectives? I still think about it." For the first time in days, I felt something other than anger or despair. "Thank you." Louis studied my face. "Are you okay? You look like I haven't slept in 3 days." I attempted a smile. "That obvious, huh?" "More like someone who's been punched in the gut and is still trying to breathe." He leaned forward. "I know that look. I've worn it myself." Something in his tone made me pause. "What happened to you?" His eyes darkened. "Your father happened." My coffee went cold as Louis told me his story. He'd developed a security algorithm that my father had claimed was worthless, then secretly patented a suspiciously similar version 6 months later. Louis had been quietly pushed out of the company, his reputation damaged by rumors of instability and poor work ethic. "He took everything I'd built," Louis said, his voice low, "and there wasn't a damn thing I could do about it. I felt sick. My family just stole my entire savings, nearly $50,000. They didn't even ask, just took it." Louis didn't look surprised. "Let me guess, for some amazing investment opportunity? Time sensitive, couldn't wait for your approval?" I stared at him. "How did you know?" "Because that's what Maximus does. He finds people with resources he wants and he takes them. Usually legally, always ruthlessly." My phone buzzed. A text from Michaela. "You're still coming to Sunday dinner, right? Mom's making your favorite. Don't be mad about the money thing. It's going to work out amazing for all of us." I showed Louis the text. He read it and shook his head. "They really expect you to just show up like nothing happened?" "They do," I said. "And until 3 days ago, I probably would have." Louis studied me for a long moment. "But not now?" "No." The word felt like freedom. "Not now." He pulled out a business card and scribbled something on the back. "I work in cybersecurity now. If you ever want to talk about options, call me. This number isn't in any system." I took the card, turning it over in my fingers. "What kind of options?" "The kind that level playing fields." His eyes met mine. "I'm not suggesting anything illegal. Just information is power, especially with people like your family." My phone buzzed again. Angela this time. "Dad says if you miss Sunday dinner, you can forget about any advance on your investment returns. Don't be stupid, Tessa." Something cold and clear crystallized inside me. I looked up at Louis. "I need to understand exactly what they did with my money," I said. "And I need to know everything about how my father operates." Louis nodded slowly. "I can help with that. But Tessa, once you start looking, you can't unsee what you find. And with families like yours, there's always more beneath the surface." "I'm counting on it," I said, slipping his card into my pocket. As we left the coffee shop, my phone lit up with a notification. An email from my father's assistant. "Mr. Winters requests your presence at tomorrow's board meeting. 10 a.m. sharp, professional attire required. I showed Louis. That's unexpected, he said, frowning. No, I replied, a strange calm settling over me. That's an opportunity. I stood outside the gleaming glass headquarters of Winters Enterprises at 9:45 a.m., wearing the only business attire I owned, a charcoal pencil skirt and cream blouse I'd bought for gallery openings. My hands wouldn't stop trembling, so I shoved them into my pockets, fingers wrapping around Louis's business card like a talisman. Last night, we'd stayed up until 3 a.m. in his apartment, surrounded by computer screens and takeout containers. Louis had walked me through what he knew about my father's business practices, the shell companies, the strategic acquisitions of other people's work, the pattern of discrediting anyone who challenged him. Remember? Louis had said as I was leaving, don't let them see what you're really thinking. Your face gives everything away. I took a deep breath and pushed through the revolving doors. The receptionist's eyes widened slightly when I gave my name. Ms. Winters, we weren't sure you'd come. The board is already gathering in the executive conference room. I nodded, trying to channel Angela's cool confidence. I'll head up now. The elevator ride to the top floor gave me 20 seconds to steady my breathing. I'd never been to a board meeting before. Had never been invited. Had never wanted to be. The conference room doors were open. Inside, men and women in expensive suits mingled with coffee cups and tablets. My father stood at the head of the table, commanding attention without speaking. Angela was at his right hand, sleek and polished in a tailored navy suit. She saw me first, her perfectly shaped eyebrows rising in surprise before she composed her face into a smile. Tessa, you made it. She air-kissed my cheek, whispering, you could have worn something a little more executive. I ignored the jab. Why am I here, Angela? Dad wants to show you what your investment is funding. She emphasized the word investment with a pointed look. Try to look interested, will you? My father finally noticed me. Tessa, good. Not good to see you or good morning. Just good, like I'd performed a basic function correctly. The meeting began promptly at 10. I took a seat near the back, watching as my father presented the quarterly results with practiced authority. Nothing about any new investment opportunity. Nothing about my money. Then Angela stood, clicking to a new slide. Now for the exciting development we've been working toward. As you know, we've been seeking to expand our creative division, and we've identified the perfect acquisition. The screen changed to show a familiar logo. Archer Studios, a boutique design firm known for their innovative approach and ethical business practices. A firm I'd dreamed of working with someday. With our recent capital infusion, Angela continued, we're positioned to make an aggressive offer that the owners won't be able to refuse. My stomach twisted. Capital infusion. My money, once acquired, my father added, will integrate their client list and top talent into our existing structure. The Archer name will be phased out within 6 months. The room buzzed with approval. All I could think about was how Archer Studios would be gutted, its creative soul stripped for parts. Questions? My father asked, his gaze sweeping the room before landing on me. Tessa, you look concerned. Every eye turned to me. I swallowed hard. Why Archer? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Their value is in their creative independence and ethical reputation. If you absorb them, you destroy what makes them valuable. A ripple of uncomfortable silence. My father's jaw tightened. This is business, not art school, he said dismissively. Their value is in their client relationships and intellectual property, which we will retain. And their people? I pressed. The designers who created that value? Angela jumped in smoothly. We'll keep the ones who align with our culture. The rest will receive generous severance packages. The discussion moved on. I sat in stunned silence, watching my family plot the destruction of something beautiful for profit. And they'd used my money that represented years of work and sacrifice, to do it. After the meeting, my father beckoned me into his office. Angela followed, closing the door behind us. What was that? He demanded. I was asking legitimate questions, I said. You were undermining our strategy in front of the board. He leaned against his desk. I brought you here to show you what real business looks like, what real success looks like. Not whatever it is you do in that studio of yours. The familiar pain of his dismissal washed over me. I'd spent my life seeking his approval, and he'd spent his making sure I knew I'd never earn it. Is that why you took my money? To teach me a lesson? We've been through this, Angela interjected. It's an investment opportunity that will benefit all of us. By destroying a creative company that actually stands for something? My father's expression hardened. This sentimentality is exactly why you're not involved in family business decisions. You lack perspective. And you lack basic decency. I shot back, surprising myself with my boldness. You stole from me. Borrowed, Angela corrected again. Without permission. That's theft. My father sighed heavily. You want your money back? Fine. I'll have accounting cut you a check, minus the family management fee, of course. But understand this. You'll be excluded from all future family investments. When this deal quadruples our portfolio, you'll get nothing. I stared at him, finally seeing clearly. This wasn't about an investment opportunity. This was about control, about keeping me dependent and grateful. I want my full amount returned, I said quietly. Today, Angela laughed. That's not how this works, little sister. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Lewis. Found something. Big. Call me when you're out. I looked up at my father and sister, these strangers who shared my blood. You're right, Angela, I said, moving toward the door. That's not how this works anymore. They're laundering money. Lewis's voice was tight as he paced his small living room. That's what I found. I sat frozen on his couch, staring at the documents spread across his coffee table. Bank statements, shell company registrations, wire transfers to accounts in countries I'd barely heard of. Are you sure? My voice sounded distant to my own ears. Louis stopped pacing and looked at me. Tessa, these patterns are textbook. Money goes in dirty, gets routed through legitimate-looking businesses, comes out clean. Your father's been doing this for years. I picked up one of the papers, a transfer authorization with my father's signature. And my money? My $47,000? It's part of a much larger transfer, almost $2 million total. Louis sat beside me, his knee brushing mine. They bundled your money with other funds. It's already been moved offshore. The room seemed to tilt. My family wasn't just manipulative and controlling, they were criminals, and they'd made me an unwitting accomplice. I need air, I said, standing abruptly. Louis' balcony was barely big enough for 2 people, but the cool night air helped clear my head. The city lights blurred below us, millions of lives untouched by my family's corruption. What am I supposed to do with this? I asked, my hands gripping the railing. Go to the police? Turn in my own family? Louis leaned against the railing beside me. That's one option. But without more concrete evidence, it would be your word against theirs. And your father has very expensive lawyers. So I just let them get away with it? With all of it? The thought made me sick. There's another way. Louis turned to face me. We find proof, real proof, enough that they can't wriggle out of it. How? I can get into their system, but I need someone on the inside, someone with physical access to the executive floor. His eyes held mine. Someone they won't suspect. Understanding dawned. You want me to spy on my family. I want you to get justice. For yourself, for me, for everyone they've steamrolled. He hesitated. But Tessa, if you do this, there's no going back. Your relationship with your family will never be the same. I laughed, the sound brittle in the night air. What relationship? They stole from me, Louis. They've been dismissing me my entire life. This is different. This is active betrayal. I thought about my mother's cold indifference, my father's contempt, Angela's manipulations, Michaela's blind loyalty to them all. Maybe betrayal is exactly what they deserve, I said quietly. Back inside, Lewis outlined what we would need. Access to my father's private server, copies of certain documents, recordings of key conversations. It would take time, patience, perfect timing. Sunday dinner, I said suddenly. I'll start this Sunday. Lewis looked concerned. Are you sure you're ready? No, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to smile across the table at people who had stolen from me. Wasn't ready to pretend I didn't know they were criminals, but I nodded anyway. I need to do this. The next morning, I texted Angela. I'll be at dinner Sunday. Tell Dad I want to talk about getting more involved in the family business. Her response came immediately. About time. Dad will be thrilled. Wear something professional. I closed my eyes, letting the rage wash through me. They thought I was capitulating. Coming back to the fold, tail between my legs. Let them think that. I spent the next 3 days preparing. Louis gave me a modified phone with special software and taught me how to use it. We practiced scenarios, anticipated questions. I memorized details about offshore accounts and shell companies so I could recognize them in conversation. On Sunday morning, I stood in front of my closet staring at my options. Professional, Angela had said. I pulled out a simple black dress, modest, forgettable. Perfect for someone who didn't want to be noticed too closely. As I was getting ready to leave, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Tessa Winters? A man's voice, unfamiliar. Who's asking? My name is Khalil. I'm head of security for your father's company. My heart stuttered. Had we been discovered already? What can I do for you, Khalil? I noticed some unusual access attempts on our system yesterday. Nothing got through, but the pattern was interesting. I gripped the phone tighter. I don't understand what this has to do with me. Probably nothing. His tone was casual, but something in it made me uneasy. Just doing my due diligence. Your father takes security very seriously. I'm sure he does. A pause. Enjoy your family dinner tonight, Ms. Winters. The line went dead. I immediately called Lewis. Someone named Khalil just called me, I said when he answered. He knows something. Lewis cursed under his breath. Khalil Nassar. He's good, really good. If he's watching, we need to be extra careful. Should we call it off? No, but we need to change tactics. Lewis's voice was tense. He'll be monitoring digital access points. We need to focus on physical evidence first. I checked the time. 2 hours until dinner. I can do this, I said, more to myself than to Lewis. Tessa. His voice softened. You don't have to. We can find another way. I thought about my empty bank account, about Archer Studios being gutted for parts, about years of being dismissed and devalued. No, I said firmly. I'm done letting them take from me. It's my turn now. As I hung up, a text came through from Michaela. Can't wait to see you tonight. Mom's making that pasta you love. Everything's going to be just like it used to be. I stared at her message, a cold clarity settling over me. Nothing would ever be like it used to be. And for the first time in my life, that felt like a good thing. My mother's house smelled like garlic and expensive perfume. I stood on the doorstep, heart hammering against my ribs, Lewis's voice echoing in my head. Get what you can without raising suspicion. Focus on physical evidence. Watch for Khalil. I rang the doorbell, adjusting the small recording device hidden in my bracelet. Michaela flung the door open, her face lighting up. Tessa, you came! She pulled me into a hug, her familiar vanilla scent enveloping me. For a split second, I almost forgot why I was there. Almost. Of course I came, I said, returning her hug with practiced warmth. It's family dinner. The dining room was set with the good china, the kind reserved for impressing guests or celebrating victories. Angela was already there, typing on her phone. She glanced up, eyes appraising my simple black dress. Well, it's not exactly executive chic, but it's better than your usual paint-splattered look, she said by way of greeting. I forced a smile. Nice to see you too. My father entered, drink in hand. Tessa, Angela mentioned you're interested in getting more involved in the business. No hello. No how are you. Straight to business. I've been thinking about my future, I said carefully. About what I really want. He nodded approvingly. Good. It's time you grew up. My mother appeared from the kitchen, elegant as always in a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Dinner's ready. Tessa, darling, help me bring out the food. In the kitchen, she handed me a bowl of pasta. I'm glad you've come to your senses about the money. Your father was quite upset by your reaction. Was he? I kept my voice neutral. Of course, family loyalty means everything to him. She stirred the sauce, not looking at me. He only wants what's best for all of us. Is that why he's laundering money through offshore accounts? The words slipped out before I could stop them. My mother's hand froze on the spoon. She turned slowly, her face a perfect mask. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, her voice suddenly brittle. And I'd suggest you don't repeat such ridiculous accusations at the table. She swept past me with the sauce, leaving me standing alone in the kitchen, pulse racing. Stupid. That was stupid. I needed to be more careful. At dinner, the conversation flowed around me. Business successes, social events, Michaela's latest shopping spree. I picked at my food, watching them all perform their roles in this family charade. So, Tessa, my father said eventually, Angela tells me you were at the board meeting. What did you think? All eyes turned to me. This was my opening. I was impressed. I lied smoothly. Especially with the Archer acquisition strategy. I've been thinking about it a lot. Angela looked surprised but pleased. Really? You seemed concerned about it at the time? I've reconsidered. Actually, I had some thoughts about how to handle the transition of their creative assets. My father raised an eyebrow. Go on. For the next 10 minutes, I outlined a strategy that sounded plausible, but would require access to financial documents and executive meetings. With each point, I watched my father's expression shift from skepticism to consideration. Not bad, he said finally. Not bad at all. I'd need to see the full acquisition plan, of course, I added, and the financing structure. He studied me for a long moment. You've never shown this kind of interest before. I met his gaze steadily. Maybe I never had the right motivation before. A small smile played at his lips. Come to my office tomorrow, 9 a.m. We'll see what you're really capable of. Victory surged through me. Step 1, accomplished. After dinner, I excused myself to use the bathroom upstairs, the one near my father's home office. The door was locked as expected, but I needed to at least check for security cameras. As I was examining the hallway, a voice behind me made me jump. Looking for something? I spun around. Khalil stood at the end of the hall, arms crossed. In person, he was taller than I'd imagined, with sharp eyes that seemed to see right through me. Just the bathroom, I said, gesturing to the door across from the office. It's that one. He pointed to a door further down the hall. Right. Thanks. I moved past him, feeling his eyes on my back. Inside the bathroom, I texted Louis. Security guy is here, watching me. His response came quickly. Get out as soon as you can. Don't push it today. When I emerged, Khalil was gone, but the damage was done. He was suspicious. Downstairs, I found Angela alone in the living room, nursing a glass of wine. That was quite a performance at dinner, she said. What are you really up to, Tessa? I sat across from her. What makes you think I'm up to something? Because I know you. And you don't suddenly develop business acumen overnight. Maybe you don't know me as well as you think. She leaned forward. Let me be clear. Dad might be intrigued by your little transformation, but I'm not. This is my territory, my future. Don't get in my way. The threat hung in the air between us. For the first time, I saw real fear behind her perfect facade. Angela wasn't just protecting the family business. She was protecting herself. "What are you afraid of, Angela?" I asked quietly. "What happens if someone looks too closely at how this family operates?" Her face paled slightly. "You have no idea what you're talking about. Don't I?" We stared at each other, the pretense of sisterly affection completely gone. The front door opened and my father's voice carried down the hall. "Khalil, what did you find?" Angela's eyes widened fractionally. I stood up, heart pounding. "I should go," I said. "Big day tomorrow, 9 a.m., right?" As I gathered my things, I heard Khalil's low voice. "We need to talk about your daughter, sir." I slipped out the side door, the night air cool against my flushed skin. I had what I needed, an invitation to the inner circle. But at what cost? The game had changed. They were watching me now. And I was running out of time. He knows something's off. I paced Lewis's living room at midnight, still in my dinner clothes. The way Khalil looked at me, like he was cataloging every movement, every word. Lewis typed furiously on his laptop. "We need to accelerate the timeline. Your father's giving you access tomorrow. That's our window. And if Khalil is watching, if he's monitoring everything I do, then we get creative." Lewis looked up, his expression grim. "Tessa, we found something else. The Archer acquisition? It's worse than we thought." He turned his laptop toward me. On the screen was an email from my father to Angela, dated 3 weeks ago. "A has agreed to our terms. Once paperwork is signed, liquidate all assets immediately. M will handle the offshore transfers. Use T's account as buffer. Clean origin, no questions. Complete by month end." My stomach dropped. T's account, that's me. They were using me as a washing machine for dirty money. They needed a clean account with no connection to their usual channels. Lewis confirmed. "Your money was never meant to be invested. It was meant to disappear." I sank onto the couch, a cold clarity settling over me. They made me complicit. If anyone investigates, my name is on those transfers. Which is why we need to move fast. Lewis closed his laptop. "Tomorrow, when you're in your father's office, I need you to plug this into any computer on the executive network." He handed me what looked like a normal USB drive. "It'll create a backdoor for me to access their secure servers." I turned the small device over in my hands. "And then what?" "Then we get everything. The whole operation. Enough evidence to force them to return your money and keep them from destroying Archer. And enough to send my family to prison," I added quietly. Lewis didn't deny it. "That's your choice, Tessa. How far you want to take this?" I barely slept that night, tossing between rage and doubt. By morning, my resolve had hardened into something cold and sharp. I dressed carefully in a borrowed suit from Lewis's ex-girlfriend, something Angela would approve of. Professional, polished, the perfect disguise. The USB drive felt like a live grenade in my purse as I walked into Winters Enterprises at precisely 9 a.m. My father's executive assistant greeted me with surprise. "Ms. Winters, your father's expecting you, but he's running late. He asked if you could wait in the conference room. The Archer team will be here at 10. My heart skipped. "The Archer team is coming today?" "Final negotiations." She smiled conspiratorially. "Between us, it's a done deal. Your father never loses." The conference room was empty. I sat at the massive table, staring at the computer terminal built into its center. A perfect opportunity, if I could access it. I glanced at the door. No one watching. I pulled out the USB drive. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." I froze. Khalil stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "This isn't what it looks like," I said automatically. He closed the door behind him. "It looks like you're about to insert unauthorized hardware into a secure system, which is exactly what it is." I dropped the drive back into my purse, mind racing for an excuse. Khalil sat across from me. "I've been watching you, Tessa. And your friend Lewis." My blood went cold. "I don't know what you're talking about. Louis Reyes, former employee, Terminated under questionable circumstances. Currently working as a cybersecurity consultant while apparently plotting corporate espionage against your father. His voice remained calm, almost conversational. And you're helping him. There was no point denying it. Are you going to tell my father? That depends. He leaned forward. On why you're doing this. The question caught me off guard. They stole from me, used me, lied to me. And now you want revenge. I want justice, I corrected, and my money back. Khalil studied me for a long moment. 2 months ago, I flagged some unusual transactions for your father. Large sums moving through unconventional channels. He told me it was a special project and to ignore similar patterns in the future. He paused. I didn't feel comfortable with that. I stared at him, understanding slowly dawning. You're not here to stop me. I'm here to make sure you don't get caught. He said quietly. What your family is doing with Archer, and with other companies before them, it isn't right. But if you use that drive, they'll trace it back to you within hours. Then what do I do? I whispered. Khalil pulled out his own drive. Use this instead. It's clean, untraceable, and will give your friend what he needs without leading back to either of you. I hesitated. Why would you help me? Because I've spent 3 years protecting your father's empire, and I've seen enough to know it needs to be dismantled. He placed the drive on the table between us. But understand this. Once you start this, there's no controlling where it ends. Your entire family could face serious charges. The weight of his words settled on my shoulders. This wasn't just about my money anymore. It was about years of corruption, of people being used and discarded. I understand, I said, taking his drive. Khalil nodded once. The system will be unlocked for exactly 2 minutes when the meeting starts. Your father always begins by showing the same presentation. That's your window. Footsteps sounded in the hallway. Khalil stood quickly. One more thing, he said, voice low and urgent. There's a company jet scheduled for tomorrow morning. Your father, Angela, and several board members. Private airstrip, invitation only. Where are they going? The Caymans, one-way tickets. His eyes met mine. Whatever you're planning, do it today. By tomorrow, they'll be gone, and so will any money they control. The door opened. My father entered, followed by Angela and several executives I recognized from the board meeting. Tessa, my father said, looking between Khalil and me with narrowed eyes. I see you've met our head of security. Just introducing myself, Khalil said smoothly. Explaining our protocols. Angela gave me a suspicious look. The Archer team will be here any minute. Try not to say anything. Artistic. As everyone took their seats, I felt the drive in my pocket. One chance. Today, before they disappeared with everything, my phone buzzed with a text from Louis. In position. Ready when you are. I looked up to see my father watching me, a calculating expression on his face. For the first time in my life, I didn't flinch away from his gaze. The game was ending today, one way or another. The Archer team arrived looking nothing like I expected. No sleek suits or power ties, just 3 people in casual business attire, with the quiet confidence of people who believe in what they create. Their lead designer, a woman named Danny, had the calloused fingertips of someone who still worked with her hands. My father began his presentation, all charm and practiced authority. I watched the Archer team's faces as he outlined his vision for their company's future. Their expressions shifted from polite interest to barely concealed concern. And of course, my father concluded, we'll ensure a smooth transition for your key personnel. You mean the ones you decide to keep? Danny said quietly. My father's smile didn't waver. We'll make those determinations based on alignment with our corporate culture. As promised, he pulled up his standard acquisition presentation. The computer terminal in front of me blinked, indicating it was active. Khalil caught my eye from across the room and gave an almost imperceptible nod. My 2-minute window had begun. I leaned forward, pretending to take notes while sliding the drive into the USB port beneath the table. A small light flashed green. Connected. Excuse me, Angela interrupted, staring directly at me. Tessa, what are you doing? Every head turned toward me. My fingers froze on the keyboard. Taking notes, I said, forcing a smile. I want to learn how this works. She narrowed her eyes but didn't push further. The presentation continued. My phone vibrated silently. Lewis. We're in. 60 seconds to download. I glanced at the Archer team, at the resignation already settling into their postures. They'd built something meaningful, and they were about to watch it be dismantled for parts. Just like I'd been. My phone buzzed again. Download complete. You need to get out now. I removed the drive, tucking it safely into my pocket. Now I just needed to excuse myself and, before we proceed to the paperwork, my father said, I believe my daughter has some thoughts on the creative transition. Tessa? Every eye in the room turned to me. This wasn't part of the plan. I wasn't supposed to speak. I glanced at Khalil, who gave me the slightest shrug. No help there. I stood slowly, buying time. Thank you, Father. I've been studying Archer's portfolio extensively. Angela watched me like a hawk, suspicion radiating from her. My father waited expectantly, a trap I couldn't see yet coiled beneath his polite attention. And then I saw it. The Archer team's faces, the quiet desperation. The same expression I'd worn when I discovered my account had been emptied. Something shifted inside me. This wasn't just about getting my money back anymore. Archer Studios has built something remarkable, I began, my voice stronger than I expected. Their design philosophy, their ethical approach to client relationships, these aren't assets you can simply absorb. They're the soul of the company. My father's expression hardened. Tessa, let me finish. The authority in my voice surprised even me. I've reviewed the acquisition plan in detail, and it's not an investment. It's a dismantling. You're not planning to grow Archer. You're planning to strip it for parts and discard the rest. The room went deadly silent. The Archer team exchanged glances. That's enough, my father said, his voice dangerously quiet. No, it's not. I turned to the Archer team. They're using shell companies to move money offshore. Once they acquire you, they'll liquidate your assets immediately. It's all happening tomorrow. They have a private jet ready to take them to the Caymans. Angela stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. Tessa clearly doesn't understand business strategy. I understand perfectly, I countered, pulling out my phone. In fact, I have the emails where you and Dad discuss using my account as a clean origin for funds, where you plan the liquidation of Archer's assets, where you discuss the offshore transfers. My father's face went white. Where did you get those? From your secure server. I met his gaze steadily. The same server where you keep records of all your other acquisitions, all your other victims. You had no right. He hissed. Neither did you when you stole from me. The Archer team was on their feet now, gathering their materials. I think we're done here, Danny said. Sit down, my father ordered. This meeting isn't over. Yes, it is. I stepped between them and my father. And so is this entire operation. Angela grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. Do you have any idea what you've done? She whispered furiously. I pulled free. Exactly what you taught me to do. Take what I want and destroy anyone who gets in my way. My father stood, his rage barely contained. Security will escort you out of the building, now. That won't be necessary. Khalil stepped forward. Ms. Winters isn't the one who needs to leave. The conference room door opened. 2 men in suits entered, not company security. Maximus Winters? One of them asked, though it clearly wasn't a question. We're with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. We need you and Angela Winters to come with us. My father's face contorted with fury as he looked from the agents to me. You did this. No, I said quietly. You did this. I just stopped looking the other way. As the agents led my father and sister out, Angela turned back to me. You're still our family, she said, her voice breaking slightly. How could you do this to your own family? For a moment, just a moment, doubt crept in. These were the people who had raised me, shaped me, defined my world for 28 years. Was I really capable of bringing them down? Then I remembered my empty bank account, the dismissal in my father's eyes, the casual cruelty that had been our family's currency for as long as I could remember. Family doesn't steal from family, I said simply. Family doesn't use family as a pawn in their criminal schemes. As they disappeared down the hallway, the Archer team approached me. Thank you, Danny said. But why? Why risk everything to warn us? I thought about all the reasons: justice, revenge, self-preservation. But in that moment, only one answer felt true. Because someone should. My phone buzzed with a message from Louis. It's done. All evidence sent to authorities. Get out now. I looked around the conference room one last time, at the empire my father had built through manipulation and deceit, at the life I'd been trying to earn a place in for as long as I could remember. And I walked away. The lobby of Winters Enterprises buzzed with confusion. Employees whispered in clusters as federal agents moved through the building. I kept my head down, aiming for the exit before anyone connected me to the chaos. Tessa, wait. I turned to see Michaela rushing toward me, her face flushed with panic. What's happening? They're saying Dad and Angela were just arrested. Her eyes searched mine, desperate for reassurance. Tell me this is a mistake. The sister who had always followed Angela's lead, who had texted me about my investment with such casual cruelty, now looked like a lost child. For a moment, I almost softened. It's not a mistake, Michaela. They've been laundering money, using shell companies, using me. Her face crumpled. But they wouldn't do that. They did, and they used my account to do it. Understanding dawned in her eyes, followed quickly by anger. So this is revenge? You're destroying our family because they borrowed money from you? They stole from me, I corrected. And no, this isn't about revenge. It's about stopping them before they hurt more people. She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. You don't understand. Dad was just trying to secure our future. Angela told me everything. The business was in trouble. They needed cash flow. The business was fine, I interrupted. They were hiding money offshore, stealing from people like me, like the Archer team upstairs. I don't believe you. I pulled out my phone and showed her one of the emails Louis had recovered. Her face paled as she read it. There are hundreds more like this, I said quietly. They've been doing it for years. Michaela looked up, her expression shifting from denial to a dawning horror. Did Mom know? The question hit me like a physical blow. In all our investigating, we'd found no evidence linking our mother to the financial crimes. But she'd been married to my father for 30 years. How could she not know? I don't know, I admitted. Michaela's phone rang, our mother's ringtone. She stared at it, then at me, suddenly uncertain. Answer it, I said. She put the phone on speaker. Mom? Michaela, thank God. Where are you? Our mother's voice was tight with tension. At Dad's office, with Tessa. A sharp intake of breath. Put your sister on. I took the phone. Hello, Mother. What have you done? The coldness in her voice was familiar, but the fear beneath it was new. What no one else would, I replied. Stop them. You've destroyed this family. They destroyed it when they decided to steal from me, when they decided breaking the law was acceptable. They were protecting us, she hissed. All of us. Do you think your father's business was built on playing nice? On following every petty rule? This world eats people who play by the rules, Tessa. And there it was. The truth I'd always suspected but never wanted to believe. She'd known, all along. Where are you now? I asked. A pause. Why? Because federal agents are probably looking for you too. I'm at the airstrip, she said after a moment. Your father's jet. I was We were supposed to take a trip. To the Caymans. One-way tickets. They're not coming, Mother. Another pause, longer this time. I know. The line went dead. I handed the phone back to Michaela, who stared at me with new eyes. She knew, Michaela whispered. All this time. Yes. What happens now? I looked around the lobby at the company my father had built through deception and intimidation. Now we tell the truth. All of it. We spent the next hours with federal agents, Michaela and I, sitting side by side, unraveling the web our family had woven. With each revelation, I watched my sister's world collapse and rebuild itself, just as mine had days earlier. When we finally emerged from the building, the sun was setting, painting the glass towers in gold and shadow. Louis waited by his car, relief washing over his face when he saw me. You okay? He asked. Getting there, I said. My phone buzzed with a text from Khalil. Your mother's gone. Private charter. Left before agents arrived. I showed Michaela the message. She nodded slowly, unsurprised. She always had her own escape plan. What will you do now? I asked her. She looked at me. Really looked at me. Perhaps for the first time. I don't know. Everything I thought I knew about our family was a lie. Not everything, I said, taking her hand. Just the parts they wanted us to see. As we drove away from Winter's Enterprises, Louis updated us on what he'd learned. The authorities had frozen all company assets. My father and Angela would face multiple federal charges. The evidence was overwhelming. What about my money? I asked. Most of it's gone, Louis admitted. Moved through too many channels to recover easily. But they found about $12,000 in one of the holding accounts. It's being released back to you. A quarter of what I'd lost. Not enough to rebuild my life as it was, but enough to start something new. The Archer team wants to meet with you, Louis added. Danny called while you were inside. Said they have a proposition. I thought about Danny's calloused fingertips. About people who built things with their hands and hearts, not just spreadsheets and schemes. We dropped Michaela at her apartment. Before she got out, she turned to me. I'm sorry, Tessa, for not seeing it, for not believing you. We see what we want to see, I said, especially with family. Are we still that? Family? I thought about all we'd lost, all that had been revealed. We're something new now, something true, she nodded, understanding. I'll call you tomorrow. As we pulled away, Louis glanced at me. Where to now? I looked out at the city, at all its possibilities. For the first time in my life, there was no path laid out for me. No expectations to fulfill or disappoint. Just open space and my own choices. My studio, I decided. I have a painting to finish. He smiled. The commission? No. I thought about the canvas I'd been working on when my world collapsed. Crimson for passion, black for void, white for beginnings. Something new, something honest. As we drove through the darkening city, I felt the weight of my family's legacy lifting. They had taught me that power came from controlling others, from taking what you wanted regardless of cost. They were wrong. Real power, I realized, wasn't in what you could take from others. It was in what you chose to create for yourself.
The yellow daffodil on my desk feels like mockery now. Just this morning, it was hope, a small gesture from a grateful client that made me smile. Now, as I stare at my computer screen for the 100th time, those cheerful petals only remind me how quickly beauty can twist into something ugly. I refresh my banking app again. The numbers don't lie, but they don't make sense either. 3 months of partial paychecks, each one a little lighter than promised. I'd trusted the system, trusted that the occasional payroll hiccup was just that, a hiccup. But now, looking at the pattern laid bare before me, my stomach churns with the realization that I've been played for a fool. Francesca? Beatrice's voice floats over my cubicle wall. You okay? You've been awfully quiet today. I minimize my screen, forcing steadiness into my voice. Just concentrating. The lie tastes bitter. Beatrice has been here longer than I have. Does she know? Has she noticed the same discrepancies in her own checks? My phone buzzes. Sydney, my best friend, responding to my panicked texts from earlier. Girl, document everything. Screenshots, emails, timestamps. Don't confront him alone. My fingers hover over the keys, trembling slightly. The spreadsheet I've built tells a story in cold, hard numbers. Each missing dollar marks another crack in the foundation of everything I thought I knew about this place, about Nathaniel. The memory of his smile this morning, that practiced, perfect smile, makes my skin crawl now. How many times had he praised my dedication, my attention to detail? "You're the backbone of this department, Francesca," he'd say, while systematically stealing from my paycheck. I stand up, smoothing my skirt with damp palms. The walk to his office feels endless, each step echoing in my ears. Through the glass walls, I can see him laughing on the phone, relaxed in his leather chair like a king on his throne. He waves me in mid-conversation. "Listen, I'll call you back." "Yes, absolutely. Dinner at 8. He sets down his phone, fixing me with that $1,000,000 smile. "Francesca, what can I do for you?" There's something wrong with my paychecks. My voice sounds smaller than I mean it to. I hate that about myself, how I shrink in his presence. "Oh?" He leans back, radiating casual concern. "Accounting's been a bit backed up. You know how it is with the merger." I place my printouts on his desk. My hands aren't shaking anymore. "It's been 3 months, Nathaniel. I've calculated the shortfall." His smile doesn't waver, but something shifts in his eyes. "I'm sure it's just a clerical error. Why don't you leave these with me? I'll look into it personally." "I'd like to involve HR, I say, and watch his expression freeze for just a fraction of a second. He stands slowly, coming around his desk. "Francesca, Francesca, after everything I've done for you?" His voice is soft, reasonable. "This kind of accusation, it could really damage your career prospects. Is that what you want?" The threat lands like a slap. I stare at him, this man I've respected for 2 years, and see a stranger. His smile isn't warm anymore. It's a weapon. "Think carefully about your next move," he continues, placing a heavy hand on my shoulder. "We wouldn't want things to become uncomfortable." I leave his office on autopilot, my printout still on his desk. In the bathroom, I grip the cold porcelain sink and stare at my reflection. The woman looking back at me seems unfamiliar, pale, shaken, diminished. My phone buzzes again. "Sydney, what happened? Call me." But I can't call her, not yet, because calling means speaking the truth out loud, that my boss is stealing from me, that he's probably stealing from others, that everything I've worked for is built on quicksand. Back at my desk, the daffodil catches my eye again. Without thinking, I pick it up and drop it in the trash. Its cheerful yellow face disappears beneath a pile of shredded papers. My computer screen reflects my image, ghost-like and transparent. I barely recognize myself anymore, this woman who lets herself be threatened and dismissed. But as I stare at that reflection, something else flickers across my face. Something harder, colder, more dangerous than fear. Nathaniel thinks he knows me. The reliable Francesca, the pushover, the backbone who never complains. But he's about to learn what happens when you break someone's trust. Because the woman in this reflection, she's done being nice. The rhythmic pounding of my feet on the treadmill can't drown out Nathaniel's voice in my head. "Think carefully about your next move." My lungs burn as I push harder, faster, trying to outrun the humiliation of yesterday's confrontation. "You're going to break that thing," Sydney says from the treadmill next to mine. She's barely sweating while I'm drenched, my ponytail plastered to my neck. Our Saturday morning gym sessions usually clear my head. Today, it's just making me more aware of how trapped I feel. I punch the speed down, letting myself coast to a walk. I talked to HR this morning. Sydney's stride falters. And? Lorelei gave me the corporate runaround, said they'd look into it, but needed time to review the payroll records. I grabbed my water bottle, squeezing it too hard. She wouldn't meet my eyes, Sid, like she knew something but couldn't or wouldn't tell me. That's not normal, Sydney says, her lawyer brain clearly spinning. Have you checked if others? I tried asking Beatrice. She changed the subject so fast it gave me whiplash. The memory stings. My one work friend, and she'd practically sprinted away when I brought up paychecks. We cool down in silence, but I can feel Sydney watching me. She's known me since college. She can read the storm brewing behind my calm facade. Back in the locker room, she finally says what I know she's been holding back. You need to start looking for another job. And let him win? The words come out sharp enough to turn heads. I lower my voice. If he's doing this to me, he's doing it to others. Someone has to stop him. And that someone has to be you? Sydney's voice is gentle, which somehow makes it worse. You're talking about going up against a senior executive with friends in high places. He could blacklist you in the industry. So I should just roll over, let him steal from me? No, but... She grabs my arm as I start to turn away. Listen to me. This morning I did some digging. Nathaniel's been named in 3 separate wrongful termination suits in the past 5 years, all settled out of court, all sealed records. The bottom drops out of my stomach. How did you? I have access to legal databases, remember? The pattern's there if you know where to look. He finds whistleblowers, discredits them, forces them out. Then the company pays hush money to make it go away. I sink onto a bench, my legs suddenly weak. That's why Beatrice wouldn't talk to me. She knows what happens to people who speak up. Sydney sits beside me, her shoulder pressed against mine. You're not alone in this, but we have to be smart. Whatever you decide to do, you need proof that's impossible to ignore. My phone chimes, an email from Lorelei in HR. My hands shake as I open it. After reviewing your inquiry, we find no evidence of payroll discrepancies. All payments have been processed according to standard procedures. If you have further concerns, please discuss them with your direct supervisor. The words blur as tears of rage fill my eyes. I thrust the phone at Sydney, who reads it with a deepening frown. Look at the timestamp, she says. 6 a.m. on a Saturday? She's covering for him. They're all covering for him. I stand up, throwing my gym bag over my shoulder with enough force to make the lockers rattle. Then I'll find proof they can't cover up. Francesca. No. My voice is steady now, cold with certainty. You know what the worst part is? Yesterday, when he threatened me, he was smiling, like it was all some big joke, like I was nothing. Sydney stands too, concern etched on her face. Promise me you won't do anything reckless. I meet her eyes in the mirror. The woman looking back isn't the same one who walked into Nathaniel's office yesterday. She's harder, dangerous. I promise I'll be careful, I say, but I'm done playing by their rules. Walking to my car, I pull up my banking app one more time. The missing money still makes my chest tight, but now it's not just about the cash. It's about power, about justice, about wiping that smug smile off Nathaniel's face. I think about those 3 sealed lawsuits, about Beatrice's fear, about Lorelei's early morning cover-up. The pattern Sydney mentioned. It's bigger than just me, which means somewhere there's a paper trail, evidence. My fingers move across the phone screen, typing a message to Xavier, the investigative reporter whose card I've had in my wallet for months. I've never had a reason to contact him before, until now. I have a story you might be interested in. When can we meet? The office feels different at 6 a.m. Empty desks cast long shadows in the pre-dawn light, and every small sound echoes through the silence. My fingers move across my keyboard with practiced stealth. I've been coming in early all week, piecing together the puzzle of Nathaniel's deception one spreadsheet at a time. You shouldn't be here. I nearly jump out of my skin. Ryder stands in my cubicle entrance, his usual smirk replaced by something harder. He's holding a coffee cup from the shop down the street, the same place Nathaniel gets his morning brew. I could say the same to you, I reply, trying to keep my voice steady as I minimize my screen. Early meeting? With Nathaniel. He steps closer, setting his coffee on my desk. He mentioned you've been asking questions. Of course he has. My skin crawls at the thought of them discussing me over their morning coffee. Just trying to resolve a payroll issue. Right. Ryder leans against my desk, too close for comfort. Look, Francesca, I like you, so let me give you some friendly advice. Drop it. Why? I meet his gaze directly. Are your paychecks short too? Something flickers across his face. Guilt? Fear? But it's gone in an instant, replaced by that practiced corporate mask. I'm up for the senior analyst position. I've worked too hard to let anyone rock the boat now. The pieces click into place. That's why you're here so early. You're his new protege. Someone has to be. He straightens up, adjusting his perfectly knotted tie. Just think about what you're risking and who you might take down with you. After he leaves, I sit in the growing morning light, my hands shaking slightly. Opening my email, I find Xavier's response from last night. Coffee 9 a.m. Come alone. The cafe is busy with morning rush when I arrive. Xavier sits in a corner booth, looking exactly like his website photo. Intense eyes, pressed shirt, the kind of face that makes people want to confess their secrets. You must be Francesca. He doesn't stand, just gestures to the seat across from him. Tell me why I'm here. I pull out my laptop, turning it to face him. 3 months of doctored payroll records. Not just mine. I've found discrepancies in at least 5 other accounts. He glances at the screen, unimpressed. Payroll fraud isn't exactly front-page material. What about 3 sealed wrongful termination lawsuits? That gets his attention. And systematic intimidation of employees who speak up? Xavier leans forward, his coffee forgotten. You have proof? Some, not enough. I take a deep breath, but I know where to find more. He studies me for a long moment. Why are you really doing this? Revenge? Justice. The word comes out harder than I intend. Someone has to stop him. Justice and revenge look awfully similar from where I'm sitting. He pulls out a notebook, old-school reporter style. Tell me about the sealed lawsuits. For the next hour, I lay it all out. The missing money, Lorelei's cover-up, Ryder's veiled threats. Xavier takes notes, occasionally asking sharp questions that make me see connections I'd missed. There's something bigger here, he says finally. These numbers you've found, they're too neat, too careful. This isn't just about skimming payroll. What do you mean? I mean, he's cut off by my phone buzzing. It's a message from Beatrice. Where are you? Nathaniel called emergency department meeting. 10 minutes. My heart races. I have to go. Xavier grabs my wrist as I stand. Be careful. Men like Nathaniel, they don't just steal money, they steal lives. The department meeting is already in full swing when I slip in. Nathaniel stands at the front, radiating authority in his tailored suit. His eyes find me as I take a seat, and his smile doesn't waver. As I was saying, in light of recent concerns about our payroll system, we'll be implementing new security measures. All financial queries should now go through proper channels, meaning me. My blood runs cold as I spot Ryder in the corner, watching me with something like pity. Nathaniel's still talking, but all I can hear is the message beneath his words. I'm in control. Don't fight it. Back at my desk, a new email waits in my inbox. From an anonymous account, subject line empty. Inside is a single line. Loading dock, midnight Thursday, bring a flash drive. I stare at the words until they blur, my heart pounding. This is it, the evidence I need, gift wrapped by someone on the inside. Or it's a trap, designed to catch me in the act. Either way, I realize I'm going. Because Xavier's right, this is bigger than missing paychecks, and I'm done being afraid. The loading dock at midnight feels like a scene from a bad thriller movie. Every shadow seems to hide a threat, and the distant hum of the city sounds like whispered warnings. I check my phone again, 11:58 p.m. My flash drive feels heavy in my pocket. A door creaks behind me. I spin around, heart in my throat. Jesus, Francesca! Lorelei steps into the dim light, her heels clicking softly on concrete. I wasn't sure you'd come. Of all the people I expected to see here, our HR manager wasn't one of them. You sent the email? She nods, glancing nervously over her shoulder. We don't have much time. Nathaniel has a meeting tomorrow morning with the board. He's going to announce a restructuring. Mass layoffs disguised as cost-cutting measures. What does that have to do with the missing payroll money? Everything. She pulls out a USB drive of her own. He's been siphoning funds for months, building a cushion to protect himself when it all falls apart. The company's bleeding money, but he's making sure his golden parachute is well funded. My mind races, and the layoffs are his cover story? He's going to blame poor performance, point fingers at middle management. Meanwhile, he walks away clean with millions. She hands me the drive. Everything's here, transfer records, fake accounts, board meeting minutes. I've been collecting it for months. Why help me now? Lorelei's face hardens. Because my name's on that layoff list, along with everyone else who knows too much. A door slams somewhere above us. We both freeze. Go, she whispers. If anyone asks, you never saw me. I'm halfway to my car when I hear voices carrying across the parking lot. Nathaniel and Ryder heading toward the loading dock. I duck behind a concrete pillar, holding my breath. Sure about this? Ryder's voice, uncertain. Getting cold feet? Nathaniel's laugh echoes. Remember what we discussed. Your promotion comes with certain expectations. I know, but the layoffs are necessary sacrifices. You want to play in the big leagues? This is how it's done. Their voices fade as they enter the building. I wait 5 more minutes before racing to my car, my hands shaking so badly I can barely get the key in the ignition. At home, I plug in Lorelei's drive with trembling fingers. File after file opens before me. Spreadsheets, emails, meeting notes. It's all here, laid out in cold digital clarity. The scope of Nathaniel's scheme is staggering. My phone buzzes, Sydney calling. I've been avoiding her since our gym conversation, but right now, I need my best friend's clear head. You're still up? She answers. I need you to look at something. Now. 20 minutes later, Sydney sits at my kitchen table, scrolling through documents while I pace. This is... Jesus, Francesca. This isn't just fraud. This is systematic corruption. I have to get this to Xavier. Wait. She grabs my arm, stopping my nervous movement. Think this through. Lorelei gave you this out of nowhere after stonewalling you for weeks? She's on the layoff list. Or she's setting you up. Sydney's lawyer voice is in full effect now. What if Nathaniel put her up to this? Give you falsified documents, catch you trying to leak them? I sink into a chair, the weight of doubt crushing my chest. So I do nothing? Let him destroy people's lives? No, she squeezes my hand. But we do this smart. I know someone in the DA's office. Let me have them look at these files first. Make sure they're legitimate. There's no time. The board meeting is exactly why we need to be careful. If we move too fast and get this wrong, Nathaniel wins. I close my eyes, seeing Lorelai's face in the loading dock shadows, hearing Nathaniel's casual cruelty to Ryder. When I open them again, Sydney's watching me with concern. "Give me until morning," she says. "Please." My phone chimes, an email from Xavier. "Need to meet, have information about previous lawsuits. Urgent." I show Sydney the message. She reads it twice, then looks at me with resignation. "You're going to meet him no matter what I say, aren't you?" "I'll wait for your contact to verify the files," I promise, "but I need to know what Xavier's found." She stands, gathering her things. "Just be careful. Remember what we talked about, revenge and justice looking the same in the dark." After she leaves, I sit in my quiet apartment, staring at the flash drive that could destroy Nathaniel or me. Tomorrow will change everything, one way or another. The thought should terrify me, but instead I feel strangely calm. Because Sydney's wrong about one thing, in the dark is exactly where justice needs to be right now. And I'm done being afraid of the shadows. The city stretches out below me like a circuit board of lights, each one representing a life untouched by the storm brewing in our office. I've escaped to the roof during lunch, needing space to process Xavier's bombshell from our morning meeting. The previous lawsuits weren't just about wrongful termination, he'd told me, sliding photos across the cafe table. They were about systematic harassment, intimidation, and worse. The faces in those photos haunt me now. 3 women, all like me, mid-career professionals who'd noticed discrepancies, who'd tried to speak up. All destroyed, not just professionally, but personally. The roof access door creaks open behind me. I turn, expecting the building maintenance worker who usually catches me up here. Instead, I find Beatrice. "I knew I'd find you here," she says, wrapping her cardigan tighter against the wind. "You always disappear up here when things get heavy." "How did you?" "I've worked here 8 years, Francesca. I notice things." She joins me at the railing. "Like how you've been coming in early, meeting with that reporter, digging through old files." My heart pounds. "Are you going to tell Nathaniel?" She laughs, but there's no humor in it. 4 years ago, I was you. Found similar discrepancies, started asking questions. Want to know what happened? I think of the photos Xavier showed me. You were one of the lawsuits. Almost. She stares out at the city. Nathaniel called me into his office one day, showed me pictures of my daughter at college, her dorm, her classes, her favorite coffee shop. Said it would be a shame if something happened to her scholarship. The chill that runs through me has nothing to do with the wind. He threatened your family? He never directly threatened anything. That's his specialty, making you understand the consequences without ever saying them out loud. She turns to face me. I took the promotion he offered, kept my mouth shut. My daughter graduated last year. And the missing money? The layoffs? You just accepted it? I chose my battles. Her voice hardens. But I never forgot, and I've been keeping records, real ones, not the doctored versions in the system. Everything he's done, everyone he's hurt. My hands grip the railing. Why tell me this now? Because tomorrow's board meeting isn't just about layoffs. Nathaniel's planning to announce a merger, one that will let him cash out completely while the rest of us lose everything. She pulls an envelope from her cardigan. Here's what he doesn't know exists. The real numbers, the secret accounts, everything. I stare at the envelope. Lorelai already gave me files. Fakes. Beatrice's smile is grim. She's always been his cleanup crew. Those files were bait, meant to discredit you when you tried to use them. My stomach lurches. If Sydney hadn't insisted on verification, why help me? Why risk it? Because my daughter's safe now, and because you remind me of myself before I let fear win. She presses the envelope into my hands. But Francesca, if you do this, you have to go all the way. No half measures. He'll destroy you if you give him the chance. Back at my desk, my phone lights up with a text from Sydney. DA contact confirms. Lorelai's files are manipulated. Don't use them. Another message follows. Where are you? Need to talk ASAP. But I'm staring at my computer screen, where an email from Nathaniel just appeared. My office, now. The walk to his office feels like walking into a trap. Through the glass walls, I see him waiting, that familiar smile in place. But something's different. There's an edge to it now, a predatory gleam. Close the door, he says as I enter. We need to discuss your recent activities. I do, feeling the weight of Beatrice's envelope in my bag. What activities? Please. He stands, circling his desk. The early mornings, the meetings with that reporter. Did you really think I wouldn't know? His smile widens. Did you really think Lorelai gave you those files without my knowledge? My pulse races, but I keep my face neutral. I don't know what you're talking about. No? He picks up a folder from his desk. Then you won't mind explaining these to the board tomorrow? Your falsified accusations, your attempts to damage the company. He lets the threat hang, unless we can come to an arrangement. I think of Beatrice's daughter, of the women in Xavier's photos, of how many others Nathaniel has silenced with that same smile. I'll think about it, I say, standing. His smile slips just slightly. He expected me to break immediately. Don't take too long. The board meets at 9. Walking out, my phone buzzes again. Xavier this time. Major development. Meet tonight. Bring everything you have. I touch Beatrice's envelope through my bag. Tomorrow's board meeting just became a deadline, not for Nathaniel's announcement, but for his downfall, because this time he picked the wrong person to threaten, and I'm done thinking small. Thunder rolls across the city as I hand Xavier the envelope in the nearly empty cafe. Rain pounds against the windows, matching my pulse. Everything's here, the real numbers, the secret accounts, proof of the merger. He flips through the documents, his expression darkening. This is bigger than we thought. The merger isn't just a cash grab, it's a cover-up. They're selling to a shell company Nathaniel controls. How is that even possible? Because half the board is in on it. He spreads out several papers. See these signatures? They're all connected to offshore accounts. Once the merger goes through, the company gets stripped for parts while they all walk away rich. My hands shake as I lift my coffee cup. And everyone else? Loses everything. Jobs, pensions, benefits. He leans forward. But here's what you don't know. I found one of his previous victims. She's willing to go on record. Hope flares in my chest, but before I can respond, my phone buzzes. A text from Ryder. Need to talk. It's about tomorrow, please. I have to go, I tell Xavier, standing. How long will you need to verify everything? Give me 2 hours. If it all checks out, we can stop tomorrow's board meeting before. The cafe door chimes. Lorelai walks in, freezing when she sees us. Her makeup is smeared like she's been crying. I'm sorry, she says, and for a moment I think she's talking to me. Then I see the men entering behind her. Security guards, but not from our building. Xavier moves fast, sweeping the documents into his bag. Back door, now! We run through the kitchen, ignoring the shouts behind us. The rain hits like needles as we burst into the alley. Xavier pushes me toward the street. Go, I'll hold them off. I sprint through puddles, my shoes soaked and slipping. Behind me, I hear scuffling, angry voices. My phone keeps buzzing, Ryder's messages growing more urgent. 20 minutes later, I'm in a 24-hour diner, dripping water onto cracked vinyl seats. Ryder sits across from me, looking as drenched as I feel. They took Xavier's bag, he says without preamble. Lorelai called them as soon as she saw you together. Why are you telling me this? He stares into his untouched coffee. Because I thought I wanted what Nathaniel promised. The promotion, the power, the money. But watching him destroy people? He looks up, and I see real fear in his eyes. He's going to announce the merger tomorrow, and anyone who knows the truth either disappears or becomes complicit. Like you? I saw what he did to the others, what he's planning for you. His hand shakes as he reaches for his phone. I've been recording our conversations, everything he said about the merger, the threats, all of it. Hope rises again, but I force it down. Why should I trust you? Because I'm on the layoff list too. He needed someone to blame when it all falls apart. The ambitious young executive who cooked the books. I found the paperwork this afternoon. My phone buzzes again, Sydney this time. Xavier just called. Are you safe? I have to go, I tell Ryder standing. Wait. He grabs my wrist. There's more. The board meeting, it's not at 9. He moved it to 8. He knows you're planning something. Rain is still falling as I race to Sydney's apartment. She opens the door before I can knock, pulling me into a fierce hug. Xavier's okay, she says immediately. Shaken up, but they didn't hurt him. The documents, gone. I sink onto her couch. Everything Beatrice gave me. Not everything. She hands me her laptop. Xavier emailed me copies before the meeting, and with Ryder's recordings. It's not enough. I stare at the screen, seeing Nathaniel's smug smile. The board meeting's in 6 hours. Even if we got this to the right people, then we don't go to the right people. Sydney's voice is hard. We go to everyone. Xavier has a contact at the local news station. If we can't stop the meeting, we can make sure everyone knows what happens in it. My phone lights up one last time. Nathaniel. My office, 7 a.m. Last chance to make the smart choice. Lightning flashes outside, illuminating Sydney's determined face. Whatever you're thinking, I'm with you. I think of Beatrice's daughter, of Lorelai's tears, of Ryder's fear, of all the people Nathaniel has threatened and broken and betrayed. The rain drums against the windows like a countdown. No more smart choices, I say, opening my laptop. It's time to be dangerous, because in 6 hours, either Nathaniel's empire burns, or I do. And I'm done playing by his rules. The office feels like a powder keg at 6:55 a.m. Every footstep echoes with possibility. Every shadow holds potential allies or enemies. My heels click against marble as I approach Nathaniel's office, where he waits behind glass walls like a spider in its web. My phone vibrates silently, Sydney confirming everything's in place. Xavier's news contact is standing by. Ryder's recordings are uploaded and ready. One press of a button, and it all goes public. But first, I have to give Nathaniel one last chance to destroy me. Right on time, he says as I enter, gesturing to the chair across from him. I've always appreciated your punctuality. I remain standing. The board meeting's been moved to 8. Ah, his smile doesn't waver. News travels fast. Please sit. We have much to discuss. I do, feeling the weight of my phone in my pocket. In 30 minutes, the first board members will arrive. In 65 minutes, everything changes. He slides a document across his desk. Your resignation letter, citing personal reasons, effective immediately. Sign it, and this all goes away. I'll even provide a glowing reference. Like you did for the others? His eyes sharpen. I've been more than patient with your investigation. That ends today. Sign or face the consequences. What consequences? I lean forward. The fake documents you had Lorelai plant? The security team that attacked Xavier? Or something more personal, like what you did to Beatrice's daughter? The smile finally slips. Careful, Francesca. You're making accusations you can't prove. Actually, I pull out my phone, showing him the screen. a live stream of the local news station where a banner reads, "Breaking news, corporate corruption exposed." I can prove everything. He moves faster than I expect, reaching for my phone, but I'm already standing. It's too late. The story's running. Your offshore accounts, the merger details, the threats, everything. You're bluffing. But he's checking his own phone now, face darkening as messages pour in. The door opens. Lorelei stands there, pale but determined. The board members are arriving early. They've seen the news. Nathaniel's mask cracks completely. "What did you do?" "What you taught me to do." I meet his gaze steadily. "I protected myself. Those documents you stole last night, copies, the security team you sent, recorded everything, every threat, every scheme, every person you've hurt. It's all out there now." He laughs, but it's hollow. "And you think that matters? The board will bury this. They always do." "Not this time." Ryder appears behind Lorelei, holding up his phone, "because I sent them something else. Proof of how you plan to scapegoat them in the merger. They're not happy, Nathaniel." Voices approach down the hall, angry voices, board members, executives, legal team. Nathaniel's face goes from rage to calculation to something like respect. "Well played," he says softly. "I didn't think you had it in you. But remember, you've become exactly what you hated. Using threats, manipulation, betrayal." "No." My voice is steady despite my pounding heart. "I became what you feared, someone who fights back." The door bursts open. A flood of suits and security personnel pour in. In the chaos, I see Beatrice watching from the hallway, silent tears on her face. Beyond her, other employees gather, watching their untouchable boss finally face consequences. "Nathaniel Rodriguez?" A man in a dark suit steps forward. "I'm with the SEC. We need to discuss some irregularities in your financial records." Everything moves quickly after that. Nathaniel's led away, his face a mask of cold fury. Board members huddle in corners, whispering frantically. My phone buzzes continuously. Sydney, Xavier, news outlets seeking comment. I stand at my desk later, packing my things. Not because I'm fired or resigned, but because I choose to leave. The company will survive, restructure, recover. But I need something new, something untainted by all this. "Hey," Ryder appears, looking exhausted but relieved. "The board's naming an interim CEO. They're promising full audits, transparency, the works." "Good." I close my box of belongings. "Take care of things here?" He nods, understanding. "What will you do now?" Through the windows, I can see news vans gathering below. My phone shows messages from other whistleblowers, reaching out with their own stories. Xavier's already talking about a bigger investigation. "I'm going to keep fighting," I say, picking up my box, "just differently now." As I walk out, employees stand in silent solidarity. Some nod, some smile, some just watch. I pass Beatrice's desk, where a fresh daffodil sits in a small vase, a symbol of new beginnings. Outside, the morning sun feels different on my face, warmer, cleaner, like everything that felt impossible yesterday is suddenly within reach. My phone buzzes one last time. Sydney. "Ready for breakfast? We have work to do." I smile, stepping into the light. "Yes, we do, and this time we're doing it right." The whispers follow me through the office corridors, but they're different now. Gone is the fear, the hesitation. In their place, something new grows: hope, determination, strength. I pause at my old desk, where another employee now sits. She looks up, recognition flashing across her face. "You're her, the one who exposed everything." Just someone who stopped being afraid, I say, continuing toward the conference room. The interim CEO asked me to consult on the company's new ethics policies. I agreed on one condition, that every employee affected by Nathaniel's schemes be made whole, not just financially, but with real protections moving forward. Inside the conference room, familiar faces wait. Beatrice, now head of the Employee Advocacy Committee. Lorelei, demoted but working to rebuild trust. Ryder, channeling his ambition into actual leadership instead of manipulation. The whistleblower returns, Ryder says, but there's respect in his voice now. I set my laptop on the table. Let's talk about real change. For the next hour, we draft policies with actual teeth, protection for whistleblowers, independent oversight, anonymous reporting systems. Every suggestion sparks debate, but it's healthy now, open, honest, focused on solutions instead of survival. My phone buzzes partway through, Xavier sending updates about Nathaniel's case. The evidence keeps mounting, more victims coming forward, the story growing beyond just our company. You know he still has supporters, Lorelei says during a break, her voice low. People who think you went too far, who say you destroyed something good to serve your own agenda. Let them talk. I meet her eyes. We both know the truth. She looks away first. I should have helped sooner, should have been braver. You're helping now. That's what matters. The meeting ends with real progress, real commitments. As others file out, Beatrice lingers. I have something for you, she says, pulling out an envelope. It came to the office addressed to Anonymous Hero. Inside is a letter from a young woman, Beatrice's daughter. She writes about watching her mother change over the years, about understanding now why that change happened, about feeling proud to see her mother stand tall again. She's right, Beatrice says softly. We're all standing taller now. My phone buzzes again, Sydney this time. Turn on the news, now. The break room television shows Nathaniel being led into court, his perfect smile finally cracked. But it's the headline below that catches my eye. Corporate whistleblower sparks national movement. The story isn't just about our company anymore. Other whistleblowers are coming forward across the country. Other companies facing scrutiny. Other workers finding their voice. Quite a ripple effect you started, says a voice behind me. I turn to find Xavier, looking more relaxed than I've ever seen him. Hear about the ethics policies? Actually, he grins, I'm here about your new job offer. The advocacy group I mentioned, they're ready to meet. I think about the letter in my pocket, about Beatrice's daughter seeing her mother stand tall, about all the others out there still afraid to speak up. Tell them yes, I say, but I have conditions. Back at my old desk, I watch the new occupant work. She reminds me of myself from before, head down, following rules, trying to be perfect. But when she looks up again, I see something different in her eyes, something that wasn't there in mine back then. She knows she has power now. They all do. My phone buzzes one last time as I head for the elevator. An unknown number, but I recognize the area code from the prison where Nathaniel awaits trial. I delete the message unread. Outside, the city feels different. Not because it's changed, but because I have. The buildings still stretch toward the sky. People still hurry along the sidewalks. Life still moves at its relentless pace. But now I see the hidden stories behind every window. The quiet battles being fought in fluorescent-lit offices. The small acts of courage that can spark revolutions. Sydney waits by her car, ready for our meeting with the advocacy group. Ready to change the world? I think about that first missing paycheck, about how small I felt in Nathaniel's office, about how fear can make us forget our own strength. No, I say, smiling as I get in the car, ready to help others change it themselves. Because that's the real victory. not just finding my voice, but helping others find theirs, one story at a time, one truth at a time, until the whispers become a roar that can't be silenced,